Call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the Committee of Adjustment meeting of July 10th, 2018. My name is Ron Chatta and I'm the committee chair for today's meeting. This is a meeting of the Committee of Adjustment. The Committee of Adjustment is composed of 5 citizen members who are appointed by Brampton City Council. The committee is authorized by the Ontario Planning Act to consider applications for minor variance from the provisions of the City of Brampton zoning bylaw. The committee also consider applications for consent, sometimes referred to as land division applications, which includes severing a new lot from an existing lot, lot addition, easement, mortgages or leases in excess of 21 years. My first request is to ask those present to ensure that all cell phones and other electronic devices are turned off or placed on a non-audible mode during this meeting. I would like to introduce my committee members. To my immediate right, Mr. Richard Nurse. To my immediate left, Ms. Desiree Doppler. To my far left, Mr. Robert Crouch. And my name is Ron Chatta, committee chair for today's meeting. Seated at the table to the right of the Committee of Adjustment is Ms. Jeannie Myers, Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment. And seated near the podium, we have city staff members who will assist the committee today. Now I will ask the staff members to make their introduction, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, my name is Elizabeth Corazola. I'm the Manager of Zoning and Sign Bylaw Services.
Thank you.
Stephen Dykstra, City of Brampton Development Planner.
Hello, Bindu Shah, City of Brampton Development Planner.
Thank you. Before we consider today's application, the committee had some procedural matter to take care. Adoptions of minute, the meeting held on June 19, 2018. The minutes of the previous meeting are presented in today's agenda. Committee members, are there any questions, concerns about these minutes? Okay, I would like to have a motion so we can look into these. Motion to approve by Mr. Crouch, seconded by Ms. Doppler. All in favor? It's approved. So the next item is declaration of interest. Does any member have any declaration of pecuniary interest to declare any matter being discussed today? Seeing none. The next is withdrawal or deferrals. So for this meeting, we have a couple of deferral requests and one withdrawal request. Any other update, Ms. Myers, so far? Okay, so we have it's here. This is the withdrawal, yeah. Okay. So file number A16141, 10387 McQueen Drive, Brampton. So there is a withdrawal request from the owner, Harinder Singh. I don't think so. We need a motion for this one, Ms. Myers?
Mr. Chair, that is correct. But we're only acknowledging in public that the applicant is no longer proceeding with the application following full circulation.
Okay. So this application is going to be withdrawn by the owner. Next, we have the deferral. We have 2 deferral requests. The one application A18083 is by Gannon Walker Domes.
My name is Mark Denardis. I'm planning associate from Gagnon Walker Domes Urban Planners. We act as planning consultant on behalf of the owner of 50 Wentworth Court in the city of Brampton, numbered company 2487557 Ontario Inc. Minor variance application A18083 was filed on May 1st and was deferred at the May 29th, 2018 Committee of Adjustment hearing and was to be reconsidered today. But since then, we've asked for a second deferral, and hopefully we would like to have the application considered at the July 31st hearing. I'm accompanied here today by Mr. Chris Tonks.
Good morning, committee. I've just been recently engaged by the applicant, and part of the deferral request involves my involvement with respect to providing some legal advice on the matters that are before the committee as well. So that forms part of the request. Unfortunately, I'm still not fully up to date on the file, but as I've mentioned, the client has just engaged our firm, and that forms part of our request today.
I'd just like to add that we have reviewed the staff recommendation report, and we're appreciative of the recommended deferral.
Okay, so, committee member, any question to the applicant? Saying none. Anybody in the audience wishes to speak on this particular application? None? Staff, could you please weigh in your comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, staff are accepting of the applicant's request that the application be deferred to the July 31st meeting. Thanks.
So, Ms. Meyer, July 31st would be enough time for if there is any new circulation, which I don't believe we required, but
Through you, Mr. Chair, the applicant has provided additional information, so we are in good standing for the July 31st hearing.
okay. So,
Motion to defer till July 31st meeting.
motion to defer for July 31st by Mr. Crouch, seconded by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? It's deferred.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now the other request we have application A17107, 1 Lowry Drive, Brampton. Agent name is Mr. Bridge Mohan Sharma. So we do have a deferral request. Is anybody present from this, relate to this application? So in this written request, they are asking the hearing on next hearing date, which is July 31st. So, Ms. Myers, is that something can work, or we should put at the end of the agenda since no one is here?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's not necessary to put it at the end of the agenda. We can certainly deal with the deferral request. However, I would defer to staff in terms of timelines.
Okay, staff, could you please give any your comments?
Through the chair, we have the City of Brampton's transportation planning staff have asked for a parking study and traffic analysis. The applicant needs to meet with that group to decide on the terms of reference for that study. Once the study is completed, staff would require time to review it. So we believe that the next meeting would not be feasible, but the meeting after that would certainly work if the parking study is provided in time.
Well, again, my personal opinion, even the meeting after the next one, if the parking study will be done, I have doubt. So, committee member, any question I would like to deal with? Maybe indefinite would be a proper solution in this case.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would support an indefinite deferral if staff is agreeable.
Sure, we would not be disagreeable to that.
Anyone in the audience here for 1 Lowry Drive, application number A17107? Please come forward, sir. Your name and address, please.
My name is Girish Ladd, and I'm representing Uniran Plastics at 3 Lowry Drive, which is right next door to 1 Lowry.
Okay.
You guys are talking about extending and doing a parking study. I'm sorry, we work right next door. They're allowing unauthorized, well, they're authorizing parking, but the parking they have there all the pedestrian traffic is flowing onto our property. We're having issues with it. We've complained to the city. We have garbage issues. We've complained to the city. And I don't understand why it's taking so long to get a resolution to this.
Okay, so your comments, the staff is already, that's the reason we all are here today. So once the completed parking study will come, in my opinion, then that will address all these issues that whatever the parking they belongs to, because the study is only going to come on that that property itself, not your next door.
Okay.
And you will be notified by the staff whenever is the next hearing date.
Perfect.
Okay?
All right, perfect. All right,
Any
thank you.
other, anything else you want to add?
No, that's it.
Thank you for coming here.
All right, thank you.
So anybody else regarding this application? Seeing none? Committee members? Indefinite?
Motion for indefinite deferral.
Okay, so motion by Mr. Crouch for indefinite deferral and supported by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? Yes, this is deferred indefinitely. Any other deferral request from any application being presented today? Seeing none? Okay, so for those unfamiliar with the Committee of Adjustment procedure and process, I would like to give a brief explanation and scope. Following some procedural matter that we have already undergone, the Secretary Treasurer will call the applications by announcing the application number, the name of applicant, and address of the subject property of the application. The applicant or authorized agent representing the application will then come to the podium, state their name and address for the record, and then present the application. I request that you reserve any question or comments pertaining to the staff report until after planning staff has had an opportunity to present. If there is anyone in attendance who wishes to speak on a particular application, you will be given the opportunity to do so when the application is presented. Any decision made here today may be appealed to the local planning appeal tribunal called LPAT. Previously, the appeal process was dealt with through the Ontario Municipal Board. However, the province have introduced new legislation in the form of Bill 139, which came into force on April 3, 2018. Appeals received in the City Clerk's office associated with minor variance and consent application will be processed and forwarded to LPAT, as they were previously processed and sent to the OMB. This process may be commenced with Secretary Treasurer by filing a completed appeal form and filing fee within prescribed 20 days appeal period. Information pertaining to the appeal process may be obtained by contacting the Secretary Treasurer within the City Clerk's office. Now we move on to the consent application, the new consent application.
Calling application B 18012, Sandringham Place Inc. and Marlwall Construction Inc. The property is located north of Sandalwood Parkway and west of Via Rosedale.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Michael Paradisi. I'm from KLM Planning Partners. We are the applicant's agent on this project. The proposed consent is to facilitate the next phase of construction and development in the ongoing development of the Rosedale Village community. It's a total of 114 units, 51 singles, and 63 towns. We have received draft conditions from Jeannie, and both ourselves and our client are okay with them.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, any questions to the applicant so far? Okay, that's good. Anybody in the audience wishes to speak on this application? None? Staff?
Through the chair, staff are in support of this application, subject to the following conditions. Number one, that any easements which may include blanket and/or reciprocal easements over the severed and retained lands as may be required to be conveyed prior to site plan approval at the discretion of the Commissioner of Planning and Development Services and the Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering for purposes including but not limited to parking, access, servicing, maintenance, and any other purposes identified by the city, region appeal, and/or utility agencies shall be established. And number 2, the owner will be responsible for all costs associated with the conveyance, preparation, deposit, and registration of any and all reference plans and/or easements required for compliance with. It originally said Clause A above. We switched that. Are recommending for that to switch to Condition 1 above.
Okay, thank you. To the agent, you understand and accept all these conditions?
Yep.
And there are some draft conditions by the planning staff. Do you have a copy of that? You understand?
I got it.
Okay, so if everybody's in agreement, looking for a motion to move forward. Motion to approve with conditions by Mr. Nurse, seconded by Ms. Toffler. All in favor? Yes, this is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling application A18092, Derek and Patterson and Rena Nagpal. The property is located at 74 Rising Hill Ridge.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Derek Patterson. My address is 74 Rising Hill Ridge in Brampton. This is a request for a minor variance. It's a new house. We're looking at doing some landscaping. It's a corner lot. We want to put a shed in the side backyard. The bylaw, there's a restriction in the bylaw that has to be in the backyard. So that's what the variance is for.
Okay, sure. Committee member, any questions so far to the applicant? None? Anyone in the audience wishes to speak regarding this application? Seeing none, staff, please weigh in your comments.
Staff are supportable to this minor variance application with subject to the following conditions being imposed. Number 1, that the extent of the variance be limited to that shown on the sketch attached to the public notice. Number 2, that the accessory structure be limited to 2.5 meters, which is 8.2 feet in height. That the existing privacy fence extending from the rear wall of the dwelling out to the exterior property line, along the exterior property line to the rear property line, and along the rear property line be maintained on the property. 4, that roof drainage from the accessory structure shall flow onto the applicant's property. Number 5, that the applicant obtained a permit from the Credit Valley Conservation Authority prior to building permit issuance. And number 6, that failure to comply with and maintain the conditions of the committee shall render the approval null and void.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wishes to speak? No? Committee members, any further question regarding staff report? None? So are you in agreement with these conditions?
I totally understand the conditions. I just would like to propose some changes to a few of them. The shed that we would like to put in would be slightly higher than this, so I'd like to have the structure limited maybe to 2.75 meters, which is 9 feet. And number 3, there is an existing fence there. We're looking at extending that fence down to further down the house as the diagram illustrates. And so I just like the wording change from extending from the rear wall to read from the side wall, because definitely we want to have a fence around the shed so that it's not visible from the road. And in the drawing, the fence is shown as being moved down.
Okay, staff?
With respect to the condition number 2, staff are of the understanding that the accessory structure can actually be higher than that. Staff were recommending 2.5 meters just to limit the height because the accessory structure is exposed to the street. 2.5 was an estimate. It wasn't necessarily a hard and fast number. And staff would be in support of a slight increase to the 2.75 meters as requested by the applicant. With respect to the changing it for condition number 3 to sidewall, I'm just going to ask that zoning speak to that, just to ensure that that would be the correct wording for that.
Sure.
Yes, and through you, Mr. Chair, thank you, Stephen. I don't have any problem. The fence that would run down the entirety of what's called the exterior lot line along the sidewall of the building and to the front face of the house could be at 2 meters in height. So to say, and I guess condition number 3 is what we're looking at, that the existing privacy fence, which probably does start near the rear wall by the bay bowed out window there, it's probably just a description of the fencing they see there, but I have no problem with it reading extending from the side wall of the dwelling along the property line to the rear property line. It can be placed at any point along that side wall and still comply with the bylaw.
Okay. So
That's perfect.
today's been a good day, I think.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, committee.
So, you
Thank
are
you,
in
staff.
fully agreement, so wait, just committee members
Yeah.
still need to make the decision.
Won't get ahead of myself.
Motion to approve with amended conditions.
Okay, so motion is put forward by amended conditions by Mr. Crouch, seconded by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? Yes, we are. It's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Calling application A18093, Murty and Pinky Ganish. The property is located at 57 Mediterranean Crescent.
Morning, everyone. My name is Ganesh Murthy, and the address is 57 Mediterranean Crescent, Brampton, L6Y0T3. I'm here to request for a minor variance for a rear setback for a proposed sunroom and an existing driveway. That's right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Murthy. Committee members, any question to the applicant? Seeing none. Anybody in the audience wishes to speak on this application? And staff, could you please weigh in your comments?
Staff are supportable of this application in part, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, that variance number 2, which is to permit an existing driveway width of 8.5 meters, 27.89 feet, be refused. Number 2, that drainage from the sunroom shall flow onto the applicant's property. Number 3, that a fill permit must be obtained from the City of Brampton Public Works and Engineering Department if the existing grade and/or existing surface treatment is altered. Number 4, that the height of the proposed sunroom addition be limited to 3 meters. Number 5, that the extent of the variance be limited to that shown on the sketch attached to the public notice. And number 6, that failure to comply with and maintain the conditions of the committee shall render the approval null and void.
Thank you. So,
Well, in regards to the driveway, I actually have a corner lot, so I have a reasonable amount of lawn size at the moment. Anything narrow, like a 4 feet, wouldn't have right curb appeal, and it wouldn't serve the purpose as well. And hence, I'm requesting the extra variance of 3.89 if the city could accommodate that request.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
sure, please go ahead.
What purpose would it not serve?
I'm sorry.
What purpose would it?
Well, the driveway, I have a van and I have a car, so if you park the car in the van, pretty much when you open the door, sometime depending how you park it, you end up opening the lawn, getting off the lawn itself. So by having a little bit more space, when you open both the doors, you have more space to get off and move around that aisle rather than getting onto the lawn. And also because of the fact that it's a corner lot, so a narrow entry point doesn't really look nice as per the contractor itself. And within the community, a few houses have that spec, so when you look at it, it just made more sense for me to have something like that.
Okay. Anybody else wishes to speak on this application? Please, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a question to the applicant. What is the length of the pattern concrete that you have?
From the garage to the,
Basically from the top to the end.
here.
The reason why I asked the question, there's another car parked, small vehicle, so I don't know the make of it. And it was positioned in such a place that when I took a photo from the Mediterranean, you could barely fit the length of that car onto that space. So that's my question, is just,
Oh, okay.
we come across these situations quite frequently. There probably is not an intent to park another car because it's very, very small. But there might be opportunities to prevent parking on it.
Yeah, it was perhaps somebody who just came to visit me and didn't realize and parked out there, but we don't use it for parking, because we just have the two cars right
Yes.
now. So we use the driveway anyway. It was perhaps somebody who just came to visit me at that moment, parked at that spot when you came by. But the primary reason of that spot is not for parking. It's really a walkway and to give it a curb appeal. That length of the, I'm sorry, I don't have it offhand.
For you, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, I did not see anybody park on there. I just saw the length of your car, the
Oh,
small
okay.
vehicle, looked like it could barely fit onto that strip.
Oh, yeah, the
So
car,
I'm-
yeah, that's right, the car.
I'm suggesting it would be a challenge to do that, but the opportunity is still there.
If I had to perhaps guess, I would think it would be about 7, 8, 10, the length itself, because I have the walkway and I have the plants in between. So I would think about a good 10 feet. The length itself, yes.
Through you, Mr. Chair, perhaps we can ask zoning.
Sure.
Certainly, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. And I'm just ballparking it off of the system and the way that it's viewed on there. Shows that it's approximately 5 meters. And by depth, I'm assuming you mean between the sidewalk and the front
Yes.
wall of the house, which is about 5 meters.
And then through you, Mr. Chair, is there a provision that you can have a walkway 6 meters from the face of the garage?
There would be, so the way that the driveway provisions apply to residential properties is that the walkway and driveway are combined hard surface width of a maximum width based on the width of the lot. In this case, the maximum combined width for a driveway walkway combination would be 7.32 meters, which is 24 feet. In this case, the driveway and walkway combination is approximately 8.5 meters, which I think is what the variance is requested for, which is a little over a meter wider than it should be, so maybe just over 3 feet wider. The permeable surface adjacent to the side lot line has been maintained in this instance. I know a lot of times we have that variance added as well. And yes, there is certainly some flexibility for allowing, obviously, a walkway from the driveway that doesn't run parallel to the driveway to extend perpendicular to the driveway to take you to the front door. And that's usually about 6 meters in width, you're correct.
Okay. Any other question?
So through you, Mr. Chair, there's an opportunity to either, depending on what the committee feels is appropriate, there's an opportunity to put some sort of a barrier there so that it is not used for parking. So if that is an opportunity, is that something that you would
Absolutely.
pursue? Something that cannot be easily moved?
Well, the good thing is during my site visit, I noticed it's a corner property and the door is one side versus garage is facing coastline and the door is facing on Mediterranean.
That's correct.
Right, so you need some space to walk around. It's a bigger lot as it's a corner lot. And beside that, the good thing is the boulevard portion normally, whenever someone extends the driveway, they go all the way other side of the sidewalk as well, but in this case, it's only between sidewalk and the house. So I personally, I'm not in favor of cutting or anything. That'll be, I think, they try to do the good job there. And I don't think so there was any complaints or anything against the property because they simply came for the sunroom additions.
That is correct. There has been no complaints or enforcement action on this property.
So, committee members?
Chair, I'd be inclined to grant the 27th
Okay, so variance 1. Sorry, variance 2, you're right, yeah.
I would grant approval of variance 2.
You mean the driveway as is? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Nurse by approving the variance 2. So,
Through you, Mr. Chair, could I just ask for
Please.
clarification?
Sure.
Are you fine with it the way that it is, or you want to put some?
No barriers,
Okay,
no encumbrances, just hazards.
okay,
okay.
I'll second that.
So we have motion by Mr. Nurse, seconded by Ms. Doppler. All in favor?
And we're also approving the sunroom?
Yes. But sorry, are you in agreement with everything?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it's all in favor? Yes, we approve, so this is approved.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Calling application A18094, Ganglahar and Smita Ivor. The property is located at number 2 Jubilee Court.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Council. My name is Smita Iyer.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the council. This is Gangadhar. We stay at 2 Jubilee Court in Brampton, L6S2H2. We are requesting for to permit a swimming pool, in-ground swimming pool in the exterior side yard of a corner lot, and also to permit an accessory structure, that's a shed, to be moved to the exterior side yard, whereas the bylaw does not permit that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Committee members, any questions so far? None? Anybody in the audience wishes to speak on this application? None? Staff, could you please weigh in your comments?
Staff are in support of this application, subject to the following conditions being imposed. Number 1, that the pool be an in-ground pool. Number 2, that the accessory structure be limited to 2.5 meters, which is 8.2 feet in height. 3, that a privacy fence be provided and maintained along the portion of the exterior side yard beyond the rear wall of the dwelling and the rear yard of the lot. Number 4, that drainage on adjacent property shall not be adversely affected. Number 5, that hoarding be installed on the drip line of the existing trees during the duration of the construction of the in-ground pool. Number 6, that the applicant obtain a fill permit from the City of Brampton's Public Works and Engineering Department prior to the installation of the pool. Number 7, that the extent of the variances be limited to that shown on the sketch attached to the public notice. And number 8, that failure to comply with and maintain the conditions of the committee shall render the approval null and void.
We agree to all their conditions.
That's good. Committee members, I would like to deal with?
Motion to approve?
I'm sorry,
Motion to
Mr.
approve.
Chair, through you, I just have one
Please go ahead, sorry.
one
my
add
apologies.
to one of the conditions. With respect to the privacy fence, so at the end of that sentence, I would like it to be added that a pool enclosure permit be obtained for the fence, and that the fence be erected in accordance with the pool enclosure bylaw.
That's, sorry, condition number 3, right?
Yes. The privacy fence is not necessarily sufficient to be a pool enclosure.
Yeah, that's fine. We will make sure that it complies with the privacy fence to be installed in accordance with when there's a pool in the yard.
I understand that that's how this came to the attention of the city. They were looking to install a pool enclosure, and we advised that the pool wasn't permitted in that location, so we're here.
Perfect.
That's okay.
Sure.
We'll get
So
that.
there's a slight change, and they are all in agreement, so I believe the motion is still
Still stands.
amended.
Yes.
Conditions seconded by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? Yes, this is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Calling application A18095, Renata Rump. The property is located at 26 Philosopher's Trail.
Hello, my name is Fern Atanasi. I live at 26 Philosopher's Trail, Brampton, Ontario. And I have so for the last 28 years, and in that time, we've seen a lot of changes in our area. We actually bought a house back in 1990 that backed onto cornfields and a small dirt road behind us. Since then, the city has developed it into a 6-lane highway, causing a lot of noise in our backyard. And on top of getting nice smell of cornfields behind us, now we have the smell of exhaust and pollution behind us. I am asking for an application to put an addition in the front of my house in order to get away from the backyard. Now, the two problems that we have here is, one is a shed that is too close to the property line, which I got permission from the homeowner because I did not want to look at his backyard. The house is rented out. There's no maintenance done to that house. He said, not a problem, we can do it. And for those of you who went in my backyard and saw the retaining walls I put up, we did put a weeping towel right across the retaining walls down to 2 property lines. His property is about a foot higher than mine, so my water does not drain on his property, his water drains on mine. Now, as far as the driveway, I have a picture here of what the driveway used to look like, which I wanted just to add a walkway to it. And when I called the city, they said I could not add a concrete walkway to it because it would extend the driveway too far, being considered part of the driveway. So I was told that if I was to do interlock, I can go as wide as I want. That's why we did do the interlock driveway, which is there now. I also have a picture here of a house just down the street, which has a similar thing. And this work here was done by City of Brampton employees. When I questioned them, are you not going too far with the driveway? I was told, no, if you do interlock, you can go as far as you want. And we should know, we work for the City of Brampton, we do this all the time. We do this as part-time for extra cash. So my thing is, I was told twice, once by a city employee when I called the building department, that it's okay to do an interlock driveway. The important thing was what was at the sidewalk. I had to stay within a certain distance, and the rest could be filled in with interlock. That we did not fill in the entire lot. The measurement was taken at the widest point, which at that point we went a little bit wider. We do have a lilac tree there that wouldn't grow any grass there anyway, so we just filled that in with interlock as we were doing it. Part of that, the majority width of the driveway is probably 25 feet, and that's beyond the 22 feet we have at the bottom. And therefore, it afforded me the driveway plus some walking space. In the meantime, we are parking on that side, but we can actually pull over enough where you have a clear view of our front door. It's not obstructing the front door at all or anything of that.
Okay, anything else you want to add, sir?
Well, I just, I did not want to go to the expense. I mean, for me, this is ideal for me. My kids and I and all the neighborhood kids used to play on my driveway, used to play ball hockey, used to play basketball. And after I did the interlock, those days were over because you cannot bounce a ball or play hockey on an interlock driveway, which I knew with interlock, not only was it more expensive, but a lot more maintenance.
Yeah.
Which I do pay but once every 2 years, the company to come in and actually power wash the driveway, which I didn't do this year, knowing that I'm gonna be doing some work to the house. It was pointless to get it clean, just to dirty it all up again. And I think another thing too is like, I was told about the stucco not being good enough for the addition. Well, I have a picture here of a house down our street, which is 100% stucco. I am not gonna go white, I am not gonna go to that extent. Only the top. I like my brick, but that is, that's where I'm at.
Okay, sure. Some of those things you can maybe clarify later on with the staff, but right now we are here. We have these 4 variances in front of us, and so let's talk on those ones, and let's take everyone's opinion.
I
Okay?
really couldn't hear that.
I said,
I work with a lot of loud power tools.
Okay.
So my hearing isn't perfect.
oh, okay, sorry to hear, I understand, sir. But anyway, what I was saying that let's committee member discuss further, and let's listen to staff report, what they say, or anybody from your neighborhood.
Yeah,
is
nobody's
here.
complained out.
Yeah.
The sign's been up there for 11 days. The neighbors all called me, and when they got their letters and said, what's this? Is it a joke? I said, no, it's not a joke, it's for real.
Sure, so let's proceed. So committee members, is there any question to the gentleman so far? Seeing none. Anyone here in the audience wishes to speak on this application? Seeing none. Staff, could you please weigh in your comments?
Through the chair, this application is supportable, but in part, subject to the following conditions as being imposed. Number 1, that variance 2 to permit an existing driveway width of 8.46 meters be refused. Number 2, that variance 4 to permit an existing accessory structure shed number 2 having a setback of 0.0 meters to the side lot line be refused. Number 3, that drainage on adjacent property shall not be adversely affected by the existing accessory structure permitted under variance 3. Number 4, that elevations be approved to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Planning and Development Services prior to building permit issuance. Number 5, that the facade treatment for the building addition related to variance 1 use durable materials and the use of stucco be limited to decorative elements. Number 6, that the extent of variances 1 and 3 be limited to that shown on the sketch attached to the public notice. And number 7, that failure to comply with and maintain the conditions of the committee shall render the approval null and void.
Okay, thank you. So, sir, the staff report is okay in some conditions, but some they are not in agreement, as you heard.
So I have to take back the driveway?
Yes, that's what they're proposing.
That's what they're proposing, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it.
Okay. So, anyway,
Or the shed. I mean, there's no complaints from the neighbors or anything like that. I can show you a picture here. This is 100%. Do you want to see it, Stephen?
yeah.
Well, we can put it up on the,
Here. I've marked out, I've crossed out the address so you wouldn't know which house it is for their own protection. And they were city employees who did that work.
Just speaking to this picture and just to describe it for you, I'm sorry we're not able to put it on the screen. It is a picture of a driveway in a similar house configuration where the remainder of the lot, or the bulk of it anyway, has been paved over with, excuse me, interlock brick. I don't know what the address is. I don't know whether they received a variance for it. I don't know whether it was done prior to 2006 when the current amendment simply didn't allow this kind of configuration. So if it was done anytime prior to 2006, there might have been the potential that this would now be
Stephen.
legal non-complying.
There's one with a car parked on it.
Yeah. And if that's the case, this would be still permitted as a legal non-complying situation. the driveway in this instance, while it is slightly too wide, doesn't take up all of the front lawn. It is approximately 1.5 meters too wide, but there has not been any enforcement action on the driveway, I can confirm that. However, it doesn't, the driveway width, and it has been widened since 2006, approximately in 2013, according to our records. It does exceed the maximum permitted driveway width by a couple of meters.
That was done after my driveway was done.
Yes.
So I don't remember mine, but that did happen after.
Yeah, and it's possible that if nobody complained about it, then it's still been allowed to be remaining, just as this one has.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, is this another application that may be appropriate for barricades on the part of the interlocking brick?
It's something that if they did choose to reduce, if the committee does not approve all of the variance that's being requested, or only approves a part up to a maximum, permitted width based on what the committee decides is appropriate, then yes, introducing permanent physical barriers to reduce the overall parking surface would be an option that's available.
Well, during my site visit, I noticed, I went to the backyard, and I'm okay with the sheds. That's my personal opinion, because they are there for many, many years, and if there's no complaint by anyone, and especially it's not just the shed that the gentleman can move. The shed is basically covered by the deck as well. So that will be a lot of work to do, and if there's no complaints by the neighbors, and the gentleman kept the backyard in a really good way versus both the neighbors. Maybe I could not even enter into their backyard because the grass was maybe 4 feet or 3 feet high in the neighboring properties. So it's up to the rest of the committee and how they want to deal with it. But I'm okay with those variances being asked on the sheds, basically. And sir, do you use your driveway for parking, or if not, then there is some provisions that you can put some permanent barriers, maybe some light pole or a bench, like the permanent bench, so you might not need to.
But yeah, sure, that's possible. We do use it for parking now, but as soon as I can get rid of the kids, I want my grass back. But nowadays kids, mid-20s, they're still at home, go figure. I left home prior to turning 16.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant, the concern is the parking of 3 cars across the frontage of your house. We face a lot of these applications, and a lot of newer subdivisions are also being turned into seemingly parking lots.
Okay, so committee member, how would you like to deal with it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, what's the concern with regard to stucco? It's not durable?
Yes, this comes from urban design. Our urban design group notes that stucco is not as durable of a product typically. And in this neighborhood, while it was identified by the applicant that there have been stucco houses, I think it was in its entirety, this house and the design of this house, in order to maintain the typical facade treatment, it would be more appropriate to have a brick or another durable product used in this case. It should also be noted that this property is within the mature neighborhood area, but since the addition is less than 50 square meters, it did not require a site plan. So that's also why condition number 4 is put in there as well, just so that our urban design group can have a further look at the facade and the look of the building to maintain that mature neighborhood feel. So the two sort of work hand in hand. Condition number 4 and 5 to ensure that the house has a durable facade for the future, and that it is typical of the character of the street.
Continuing, through you, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
If the applicant had simply chosen to put stucco on his existing dwelling, is there anything the city could have done to prevent it?
No.
It's actually, the stucco is going to be limited. It's very minimum of the stucco. It's probably about 10 feet of wall on one side and the side gables. That's all there is. Here, Stephen, there, you want to take a look at that one?
No, it's okay.
You seen it? You
Yeah.
probably drove by it. Crossed out the address, but the name's still there.
Mr. Chair, I agree with you in terms of supporting the backyard structures, and I would prefer if condition 5 were amended to simply remove and the use of stucco be limited to decorative elements to permit the applicant to promote the durability of stucco and follow his own style.
So, Mr. Crouch, so are you putting a motion forward with?
I was just suggesting how I would amend paragraph 5.
Okay.
I think the motion requires attention to all of the conditions.
Okay. Dr.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I support what both members of the committee have said in terms of the shed at the back. I just want to make a note that you've done a beautiful job in your backyard.
Well, I do it to look good. I don't do it just for doing it. I love what I do, and I have visions of what it's going to look like. I've been doing this for about 34 years now, so.
So your backyard is beautiful. I don't have an issue with the
It
shed.
used to be nicer.
I don't have an
We used to
issue-
have a pool back there and a little dollhouse, a little playhouse for my daughter.
Oh.
And then now the playhouse has turned into a shed, and the pool is gone because of the dust and dirt.
So I think at least three of us have provided our opinion on the shed. In terms of the way the front looks, I have to say personally, it doesn't look as great as the back, just because you've got 3 cars parked, at least when I attended
Well,
the
just a
site.
rare time when all the kids were there was when you showed up.
Yes. So I
And they
think-
were there because the barbecue was going.
Yes,
Or else they
and
wouldn't
I
be
was
there.
there while the barbecue was going. My apologies. It was 3:30 in the afternoon, so I thought I was okay, but I did intrude a little bit. My point being, I think what you've said is that eventually you would like to have grass back at the
Oh,
front.
definitely, yeah.
So I think what we as the committee would be looking at is not supporting that number of cars parked in the front. So there are 2 ways to deal with it. One is to support what the city's saying and to reinstate it and put grass back, or an alternative would be to put a barrier so that you can't park there. So you've told us that you actually want to have parking there, and that's something that I think at least a couple of us said that we wouldn't be able to support. So really,
Well, we-
if
we
we're
do-
having it, if we're
We do have some neighbors who actually park on their grass, which I don't appreciate that, but then again, it's not my business, not my property.
Well, that's wrong too, right? Let's admit
Oh, yeah, it
that.
definitely is wrong, yeah. But, considering that, majority of households now have minimum of 2 cars, that's minimum. Parking is an issue, especially when you can't park on the street overnight in Brampton. Between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., there's no parking, and you get a lot of people who park up at the plaza. Now they're starting to ticket those cars. You know?
So unfortunately, we have, if I can continue through,
Yeah, please.
Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, we have bylaws that are current and something that we have to consider. I think what the city is also doing, in particular with your application, is they're looking for you to do something that fits into the neighborhood. And I think that would be to your benefit. So in terms of having the clause about the stucco or the not, I understand that you should have a right to do what you want, but I understand from the city's standpoint, if you fit into the neighborhood, I think it's a better curb appeal. So to me, that's not a big issue, but for me, the driveway is the issue. So I think we're almost asking you if you would prefer to reinstate or put a barrier there. Either way, we're not going to,
Okay, now, if, I know I was told too, like, if you put a plant in the middle, it kind of works the same way, where it separates it?
If I may, Mr.
Please.
Chair, through you, if the committee refuses the variance, that is all the committee is obligated to do. You can either approve it or refuse it. Should the applicant then choose to try to comply with the bylaw, he can work with city staff on any number of options that could be, supportable to comply. One of them is instating plants. I mean, overall, the goal and the objective is to maintain a maximum driveway width of the 22 feet that's permitted under the bylaw. There's no outstanding compliance orders on this, so there's no timeline that's being imposed on the resident to comply. And I don't think the committee needs to tell him whether to reinstate grass or put barriers. If you're refusing the variance outright, then that's something staff can work with him
Exactly.
on.
Thank you. Yeah.
thank you.
So I guess, Mr. Nurse, you want to add something?
Through you, Chair, I, in general, support staff recommendations. I do, I did hear that variance number 2, there is some support on the committee for it. My question is if you have a new neighbor, at lunchtime, they may not be agreeable having the shed right on the lot line. So, and additionally, this particular driveway is of a different context versus the previous application that we approved for similar size. And so I am inclined to support staff recommendations. And as staff has mentioned, the applicant can work with them to, come up with a solution for the driveway. Whether or not we refuse it or we accept it.
Okay.
Or approve it rather.
Okay.
So my motion would be to support staff recommendations.
So we have a motion here supporting staff recommendation by Mr. Nurse. Do we have seconder of this motion? Seeing none, so motion did not carry. So back to where we were. Looking forward a motion or the possibility to amend the conditions as we moving forward. Urzola, please.
Sorry again, through you,
No
Mr.
problem.
Chair. In respect to the proposed amendment by Member Crouch in approving the second shed, if that condition is going to be removed then, so that's removing condition 2 that says variance 4 is refused. I would ask as well then that condition 3 and 6 be amended to also reference variance 4, so that drainage from both accessory structures be maintained on the property, and again, that the extent of the variances apply to both accessory structures.
Okay, so condition 2 removed and condition number 3 to be read as variance 4 and condition 6 to be read as variance 1 and 4.
1, 3, and 4.
1, 3, and 4. Sorry, 3 and 4. Okay. And anything in particular about stucco, Mr. Crouch?
I prefer to see that phrase deleted from condition 5.
Okay. Staff, could you please?
And I'm content with the refusal of the driveway. I understand Ms. Cutruzola's position. I think it's appropriate. So I would support a motion to refuse the driveway variance to permit shed numbers 1 and 2, and to delete from condition 5 and the use of stucco be limited to decorative elements.
Okay, so.
Is there a seconder to that?
So we have, sorry, 1 second. We need some more clarity on this, or are you all good with?
No, I understand. I'm hoping that the secretary understands. She'll be drafting the decision, but yes, my understanding is condition 5 will be amended to remove the words starting with "and" the stucco be limited.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion here by Mr. Crouch with the amended recommendations, seconded by Ms. Doppler. All in favor? So this is approved.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just confirming that Richard Nurse has dissented on this application.
Yes. So, sir, committee has given this decision in which your driveway variance is refused. But there are some other changes that the committee feels they're okay with your sheds, and they removed that stucco limitations part. Okay? And you can work with the staff after moving forward, after how to follow all these remaining guidelines for your driveway and other portions.
Okay, so we have to follow up on the driveway with city staff? And that's prior to me getting the permit for what I want to do, or can I go ahead and apply for the permit?
Well, staff, you can get in touch with staff after the meeting, and they'll be able to guide you more. But your driveway, as the variance has been refused, so that means you may have some options. Either you want to reinstate the grass back, or you want to talk to staff and maybe put together some permanent barriers like bench or lamp or some permanent plants.
Yeah. Hey, see, like, with me, the driveway, I was told that interlock is considered landscape.
I don't think so, sir.
No, I was told that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're being told here.
Because
You're
definitely
being
like,
told here that's not considered landscape.
it's not,
Considered a hard surface.
If I may make
Please.
a clarifying statement, sir, through you, Mr. Chair, the decision to approve the variances for the addition and the sheds is not conditional on the reinstatement of that driveway. It's simply a refusal to approve the driveway. Should the applicant choose to now bring the driveway into compliance, he can certainly contact staff. I'll provide my card. But it is not conditional on the reinstatement and compliance with the bylaw for that driveway.
Okay, sure. So Ms. Corzola is going to provide you the contact information. You can get in touch with the staff later on.
Okay.
And they'll be able to assist you further.
okay, so that's the only thing left now, it's just a driveway.
Exactly.
So I can go ahead and apply for the building permit and
Yes,
says yes?
yes.
Okay.
There's
Sorry,
an appeal
through-
period of 20 days.
That's right. Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
There's
There
an appeal
is a-
period of 20 days for this decision. You have to wait for a few weeks.
The application for a permit can be submitted. The chief building official agrees to submit if the committee approves and no one was in attendance, but the permit cannot be issued until after the appeal period expires.
So any decision as I announced in the beginning, I think maybe you were here, any decision here today can be appealed in next 20 days. So that's why they need to wait for those 20 days, but certainly you can work with staff and move forward according to their guidelines.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, my rush is that the windows, 6 to 8 weeks wait for the windows, and I want to be able to order them,
Yeah, no, we do understand.
because within a week it's closed,
Yeah.
and,
I would suggest you to contact staff. You already have the contact
yes,
information.
yes, I do, yeah.
And they'll be able to assist you after the committee meeting. So maybe from tomorrow on, you can get in touch with them and they will guide you better.
Okay.
We did our job, whatever we're supposed to do.
Yep.
So now it's between you and staff.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you
Thank
very much, I
for
appreciate
your
it.
time.
Calling application A 18099, 693316 Ontario Limited. The property is located at 98 Wentworth Court.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee and staff. I'm one of the owners of 693316 Ontario Limited, and we are seeking a minor variance. I'll give you a background of where we're at. We bought the property in 2001.
Sorry, when, sir?
We bought the property in 2001.
Okay.
From the photo that you see, the property was already working as a waste transfer station. In the same year, we applied for a site plan approval for a concrete batching plant, and we did receive approval. In 2002, we applied to the Ministry of Environment for a certificate of approval to operate a waste transfer facility and received approval. We carried on until 2015, when the city of Brampton issued a charge against the waste transfer structure that it was too close to the property line. Before that time, as I said, it was operated until from 2001, 14 years without incident. In 2017, we attended trial when the city withdrew the charges completely against our transfer station. In the same year, a fire occurred on our property, and there was damage on the roof, and the structure still had to be replaced. There was no new construction, only repairs on the property. Now, the city of Brampton is making an issue again against the bylaws. If the fire did not occur, we would not be here at all. The TRCA has no objection whatsoever about the transfer station in present location.
Yeah, we do have here.
You do have copies from the TRCA. Our adjacent neighbors have no objections. So we are seeking a minor variance to carry on our business since we did from 2001.
Okay, sure. Anything else you want to add?
That's fine.
Okay. Committee members, any questions so far to the applicant? Seeing none, anybody in the audience wishes to speak on this application? None? Staff, could you please weigh in your comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff recommends that for the reasons given in the report, the application A18-099 be deferred.
Okay, is that indefinite deferral staff is requesting, or?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. We are recommending definite deferral because we are recommending in the report that a site plan application is required. So until a site plan application has been submitted and reviewed by staff, the minor variance application should remain deferred.
Okay. But if I'm not sure if the site plan is required in this case?
Site plan would be required for any development of a new building, yes, recognizing that it is the replacement of an existing or what was an existing building, but there had been no permits or approvals for that building at the time it was erected. So yes, site plan approval would be required.
If I may, we're not replacing anything. We're just repairing the roof that was destroyed by a fire.
Okay, that's why I asked actually, according to you, and if the site plan is required on the repair section, but I just got the answer from the staff. Remember any question so far? None? So staff is suggesting to defer. And what is your reasons that you are not in agreement as your?
Well, we've been there since 2001 without incident. The staff has taken us to trial. A trial, they withdrew the charges. We went back to operating the business. If a fire did not occur, we would not be here at all. Do we have to come back every time there's a storm or there's a crack somewhere? I think we've been down through this road before, and the city has agreed and withdrew the charges. Now they're reinstating the charges or start the same bylaw enforcement, and we don't understand why. And this is the reason why we don't agree with the referral.
So the business is not in practice at this point, or what's the
No,
situation?
the business has been suspended because we have stopped. We put the steel structure on, but we didn't put the vinyl on yet until the minor variance is either approved or refused. So we are stopped our business, and it's creating financial hardship at this time.
Please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a clarification. There seems to be some history here. In terms of requiring a site plan approval, is that for the most part, a technical issue in order to document what is there, or is there a consideration that there would be changes required? So if our understanding is correct, we've got 4 walls standing and a roof that needs to be repaired.
Correct. The site plan approval, I'll defer planning. Site plan approval is applicable law for the purpose of issuing the building permit. So right now, because the structure was being, repaired without the benefit of a building permit, there is an order to comply that's been issued. So they've stopped work and they're trying to comply with that order now. But in order to issue a building permit, site plan approval would have to be confirmed. Whether that may or may not result in changes, that would be for the entirety of the site plan team. Obviously, if you do choose to proceed with the application as before you today, then one of the comments from zoning would be that now the structure would comply with the approved variance to whatever reduction in setbacks the committee might seem appropriate.
Through you,
Please go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, just if I could ask staff then, in this particular instance, then what kind of a site plan application process would this be? Is it a full-scale application, or is it a?
Yeah. To the chair, staff's view is that at least, although we don't have enough information at this stage, but my view is that based on the information that we have on file, at least a basic site plan application would be required, which means that a certain number of departments would need to review it. The staff comments that we have from the engineering departments, they have already highlighted that there seem to be drainage and traffic flow related issues caused by the location of the structure and the size of the structure. So we are of the view that a site plan application which enables the staff to look into those issues and work with the applicant to lead to a situation where those issues are addressed would be required. Thank you.
Please.
If I could continue, I have a lot of questions sometimes. In terms of if the information that we're given is correct, this business has operated from this premise for many years. In terms of looking at something from a traffic standpoint, anything that may significantly alter the property, that would be something that would be a bit of a concern for me in this position. But I recognize that in order to get a building permit, we need to go for site plan approval. So we've in the past heard terms like limited scope site plan approval. I think what the applicant is asking is that the door doesn't be opened wide so that all sorts of things are being asked of them. That being said, I understand that there's a history, and I suppose if we knew the history, it would help us a little bit. But back to my question, is this, would this be considered a limited scope, and how?
Yeah, through the chair, the basic site plan application, which I'm at this moment thinking that it might be appropriate for the situation, is a sort of scoped site plan, which means that it would be circulated to only the very related departments. It may not be everybody. It would be some crucial departments will review it, and so practically it would take lesser amount of time.
So roughly how much time we're looking?
It depends how complete the application is and how the staff, when they review it, how they view it, how complete and how close it is to the city's requirements. It depends.
If I may, we're just going through a site plan application in Pickering. We've been doing it for 2 years. So it's not 1 month's time. It takes a long, long time to go through the whole process with all the studies and the peer reviews and the reviews. We're at submission number 5 already. So 1 month, it's impossible. And all of our experience is taken at least 2 years everywhere we applied for a site plan. As a matter of fact, we did apply over here for a site plan in 2001, and it took a long time. And we did get approved. All the grading and so on and so forth was done at that time. So all the studies were done at that time. And this structure was erected at that time, only because we moved it from one section into the other. It's all we've done, and we continue to operate. To apply for a site plan again, it's a long, long process. It's a hardest process.
Through the chair, I would like to add that based on my experience with the site plan application that we have, it does not usually take years for a site plan application to approve. But usually, if it's a full site plan application, then it takes a few months usually. But if it is a basic application, I think it should take a few weeks, if not months.
Okay. Any other question?
So through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant, so it is true when you developed the property in 2001 that this particular building was not built?
It was built in 2002 when we applied for the Ministry of Environment for approval. So we built that at that time. Actually, we moved it. Because if you look at the picture, when we bought the property, there was already a structure in its place. And the property, as you see, was a complete mess. We cleaned it up, and we moved the property. And we do operate other businesses out of the same site.
And you did that without a building permit?
We just moved it. We moved the structure back there. Yes. The town staff have visited the site many times, and they didn't appear to have any issues until 2015.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Mahmood, in your report, you don't have, you don't deal, because you're looking for a deferral, you haven't dealt with the 4 tests under the Planning Act. So would you agree that 3 tests under the Planning Act would be met, and we're really talking about the zoning bylaw in this one?
Through the chair, I'm sorry, without having the benefit of looking at this in a more detailed manner, I cannot say whether it meets the 4 tests or not.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are having some good discussion. How many people working at your facility, sir? Because I always
In the particular waste transfer station, we have about 10 people that depend on the transfer station to work. Just on that. We have a concrete batching plant that operates out of that site too. So we probably got about 30, 40 people that work out of that site.
Please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would propose to put forward the following. I would be in support of the city in making sure that we get a building permit. If a limited scope site plan is required, I would support that as well. But what I might suggest is that we defer this, whether it's a meeting or 2 meetings, that prior to our next meeting, that a limited scope site plan is understood and perhaps even submitted so that we can help with the timing. Because we recognize you have a timing issue.
Mr. Hammonds is our agent. He's asking me to ask what is a limited scope site plan actually means.
Can we get a definition from the planner?
Sure.
Otherwise, we're open space. We don't want to.
Yeah, through the chair, sorry, what I previously shared with the committee was that it won't be a limited, because there is a specific limited stream. We have 4 streams for site plans. One of them is limited. This is not a case of a limited site plan application. I suggested that it could be full site plan, but my determination based on the information that we currently have is that it would at least be basic, if not full. This won't be limited. Limited is a site plan application where only a minor addition to the existing building is being made, which is not the case here. So it will at least be a basic site plan application, or it may be full. Thank you.
If I may, we tried to apply for a building permit, as it was suggested. It was refused because we don't have a site plan. But we did go and apply for a building permit.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Is
Your
there a
name, Ms. Myers, you already have the name and address for the gentleman seeking.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I recognize it's the agent listed on the application.
Okay. Please go ahead, sir.
So on your website, is there a definition of a basic site plan? So we can look at that and say, here's the scope that we need to do. Does that exist?
Yeah, through the chair, on the city's website, there is a spot for development applications. So one of the applications which are available there is site plan application, and there's a web link available. So it provides there's a guide also indicating what a basic application is for, and the application form, and all the requirements the city has for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair, it's
Sorry.
unfortunate that we don't have an evaluation of the site based on the 4 tests.
Yeah.
And you're in a bit of a, you can't get the building permit without the site plan
Yeah.
approved. So maybe the quickest way around this is to maybe have a report for next meeting that lays out
Exactly, I was
you know,
thinking the same, yeah.
how the property aligns, or does align with the 4 tests. And then we'll have something definitive to work with.
Exactly.
I don't think we should take much more time here.
Exactly.
We're in no position to
Make
switch
it,
this.
yeah.
It has to be deferred.
Particularly when the notice has to be recirculated because of the absence of the side yard setback. So I would support the staff recommendation and move to defer this application indefinitely.
Seconded.
Okay, so we have a motion put forward to defer indefinite by Mr. Crouch and seconded by Mr. Nurse. But I just want to put my little comments on this. I think we should put a timeline on it, but we have this motion forward. I would like to see if how it goes. So we have a motion and we have a seconder. All in favor?
Well, I think before we, let's kind of lay out some next steps.
Yes.
Give the applicant some comfort.
Yeah.
This is going to move forward.
Yeah, so what I would like to see in this, whenever is the nearest possible time limit on it. So we have detailed report and to staff as well, if we can have some clarity on the 4 tests, so we can make our decision accordingly.
But that won't be available for at least 3 weeks.
Yes, so the minimum is at least the next meeting,
It's a minimum.
2 meetings.
2 meetings from now. Ms. Myers?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure what the question is.
So the question is, when, if we are going to defer to a meeting or 2 meetings from now, what are the requirements? And how soon we can bring it back?
In terms of the circulation.
Circulations.
The
Then we'll
circulation for the
check.
minor variance application?
Mhm.
Okay, I would have to defer to staff on submission of a site plan application, but in terms of a minor variance application, we would not be able to make the July 31st hearing.
Mhm.
We've already exhausted that deadline.
Mhm.
The following hearing is August 21st, but with a deadline of July 24th. I'm not sure if that would meet staff's needs.
To the chair, I would like to add that staff would not be, even if it comes back to a committee meeting, staff would not be in a position to determine whether it meets the 4 tests or not until a site plan application has been submitted and reviewed by staff. So I have no idea how long that will take. That will take several weeks. So I would request that the committee keep this in.
So through the chair. So that's something procedural. That's your procedure, and it cannot be changed. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I may, it appears to me that we won't be able to meet those deadlines. The site plan application requires us to do a lot of different reports, and most consultants will not turn around a report in a month or a month and a half. So the application, a full application requirement, as stated by planning, will not be able to submit it at the earliest until October, November. And those are the reality timelines. So what do we do in the interim? Because we have stopped everything, and we have 10 people that depend heavily on this vinyl to be covered so we can continue our business while we go through the whole set. We don't mind applying for a building permit, absolutely. We will comply. Our objection is that we've been down to this road before, and the city withdrew the charges, the exact same charges against us in 2017. and you have a copy of the judgment. So we disagree with planning staff. This is why we're here. We've been there for 17 years. We operate a large business, and we apply for a site plan everywhere we start a new site. And we did so on this site in 2001 as well. We would comply. But why didn't the city have a problem in 2002 or 2003 or 2007? Why did they have to wait until 2015? And then we went to trial, they withdrew the charges. If we did not have a fire that happened in the same year, we would not be here. We would still be operating, and city staff would not have a problem with us. That's the issue.
So, through the chair, the committee doesn't have the authority to do any, take any action beyond what staff recommends here. And so, while I empathize with the applicant and the need to get their business up and running, providing or going through the site plan process is unavoidable, and hence we need to, move forward with deferring the application.
And by deferring the application, we're not making the site plan mandatory. We're simply saying you have to continue to work with the city.
They'll have to,
And we know the application has to be resubmitted anyway because of the absence of the request for the 3.5 meter setback.
If I may,
So,
through you, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. In my absence last week, there was some discussion, and I see that this report does address that new variance. I can confirm that there is no variance required for landscaped open space. While the bylaw, when it was first introduced in 2001, prescribed that as a requirement, the bylaw that now supersedes it, that was passed in 2004, does not include that landscaped open space as a requirement that applies to this property for whatever reason, whether it was an oversight in the rewrite of the bylaw or it was an intentional omission. But that does not need to be recirculated and or added as a variance. I can speak as well, if you're at all interested, to the charges that were previously filed. Obviously, when bylaw enforcement goes out, they do so on the basis of a complaint. An investigation was undertaken. The structure was noted to exceed the maximum height and did not meet the minimum setback requirements. That was sent to prosecution for failure to comply with the bylaw. The charges in that instance were withdrawn based on a technicality in the paperwork that it was associated with that court reference file, and that's why we are now back in the same situation we are. The fire did trigger the review of a building permit application, and that application was found to, again, not comply with the zoning bylaw, and that's what the necessity of the variance is.
Doctor, you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there has to be a rectification to something that has long been in existence, and we respect and support the city and what they need to do. It's there for everybody's purpose. That being said, rather than an indefinite deferral, I would suggest that we have a specific date, and that would that request would include that the base site plan be completed. I'm not sure what reports are required, if any, but if we're talking about a base site plan, then I think, given a deadline, both parties need to necessarily work together to establish what that is.
With all due respect, I believe that this site plan will not be approved for at least a year and a half, 2 years. That's my experience. When they say limited scope, and it's not going to happen. If we knew it would happen in 6 weeks, we would be more than happy to oblige. But it's not going to happen. And my concern is, what do we do with the people that are there waiting to work tomorrow morning?
Well, based on the information we have in front of us, we need to make a decision. And there are motions on the table, and there's a seconder as well. Just for the record, I would like to clear that we have a letter from TRCA with no objection. We have a letter from the neighbor located at 76 Wentworth Court, no objection as well. So, committee member, would you want me to proceed with,
I have a motion on the table, Mr. Chair.
okay, so we have a motion to defer indefinite, I just want to clear, Mr. Clerk?
Correct.
By Mr. Crouch and seconded by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? So Ms. Myers is 2 versus 2. How is this carried? Considered carried or?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the vote would not be carried with a tie vote, so committee will have to put another motion on the floor.
Okay.
I think I made the appropriate motion, so go ahead.
Well, the only thing is if staff is willing to put some time limit on it, and I do understand the position, but maybe we can look at that time if something can come forward to expedite this situation. It's a different situation than any other situations. We get some time. That's what my personal position is.
What staff can only say is that we will try to expedite the site plan application once it has been submitted as much as possible to help the applicant. But I really not in a position to indicate any time as to how long it will take.
And that is the difficulty right there. That's the answer. That's the difficulty right there. There's no commitment on a timeline.
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is going to be arbitrary, but to me, timeline is the issue on both sides. I would normally support an indefinite deferral because this is very difficult to make decisions on both sides. But I'm going to suggest that we defer this for 3 months. Again, it's arbitrary, but I'm hoping that within that time frame, both parties can come together and expedite whatever process is required.
Okay. So as doctor is suggesting to defer to 3 months, is there any particular meeting we should refer it to? Ms. Myers?
Through you, Mr. Chair, on a basis of a 3-month deferral, we will be looking at a hearing on September 11th.
Okay, so the hearing on September 11, and maybe we can reevaluate.
Sorry, through you, if I may
Three
offer a
meetings.
correction. It would be October 2nd.
Okay, so hopefully we might have some further updates by October the 2nd, and we can reevaluate the entire situation at that time. So that's what Ms. Myers is suggesting.
Through Chair, I don't want to, we shouldn't be giving the applicant any false hope because
Yeah.
I'm not sure we'll be coming back to this committee in 3 months.
We have no ability to enforce that. I just don't see the purpose in it.
You know, through you, Mr. Chair, the only purpose is that this has been an outstanding issue for a number of years, and neither the applicant nor the city have been able to come to terms even when it went through the legal course. So by holding to 3 months, again, it's arbitrary, but
Well, I don't know who's being held to the 3 months because we can't enforce that. It seems like a brief period of time to me. I think we can be confident that both sides can act in good faith and move it together as best they can. But to just throw it arbitrarily, get it done by October 2nd, I don't see how we do that.
Well, in my opinion, Mr. Crouch, is just to reevaluate the situation. I mean, at least the parties can come together here on that day, and we'll have a little bit discussion to see how the progress, if still there is no answer.
I disagree.
No problem. So,
I have an outstanding motion that failed. Somebody bring in another motion.
So, through the Chair, just question to the applicant. You're aware of, there's very little wiggle room. How would you like to proceed?
We would like to build a structure so people can go back to work and carry on our business, which has been stopped because of the fire. It was suggested that this was triggered by the fire. my thing is, if we had no fire, whether it's a technicality or not, the charges were withdrawn, we would be carrying on business. And now to go through the whole exercise again, we think, as from a business perspective, it's very unfair. And not to have a timeline and commitment, it's double unfair. We comply everywhere. We like to comply here. Where we have no outstanding charges against any other jurisdiction except the city of Brampton, which failed to come to us in 2002, and they came 2015, and then again, because of a fire, it triggered again in 2018.
I'm just trying to gauge, how gingerly, you want to work with your partners, the partners at the city, because I think we are kind of, handcuffed here.
We would work, but again, because of my experience, over 30 years of doing this, been in business, it will take at least 2 years to go through the whole process. Conservation Authority looked at it. Conservation Authority is a difficult and challenging body to work with. They have no objection to where it is today. No objection whatsoever. The city had no objection until the fire triggered it again. We would work, but I know, again, from my experience, it's going to be a long, long process. And we have a structure that's 80% built, and we stopped the work order to comply, and we're not getting any further. And it's not going to go any further for months and months.
As the gentleman referred a few times that city had no objection before the fire, what is the staff's opinion about that? If staff has no issues before and then now?
I can only speak to
Yep.
zoning bylaw and the compliance issues. I cannot confirm that the city had no objection to it. I can confirm that at no point in time was it ever constructed with a building permit, or did it ever comply with the zoning bylaw. So the fact that they now came in as a result of an order for construction without the benefit of a permit, and they came in to try to rectify that order and apply for the building permit, the structure was then reviewed for compliance with the zoning bylaw and found, much as it had when it was investigated back in 2015, that it still does not comply with the setback requirements established by the zoning bylaw and that have been in place since the time it was erected. I don't know that the city had no objection. The city may have been unaware of its existence until such time as the complaint was filed. And then certainly, although the charges were withdrawn, based on the fact that the wrong section of the bylaw had been cited in the charges that were sworn before the justice, that is the technical error that I'm referring to. It wasn't an agreement or acknowledgement on the city's behalf that the structure somehow suddenly complied with the zoning bylaw.
And if I may, we tried to come to committee of adjustment a couple of years ago. Staff suggested we deferred it. We did defer it. They didn't work with us. We went to trial. We tried this exercise a couple of years ago. And it's the same thing, deferred indefinitely. We tried to work with them. They weren't very cooperative. And the city, through the prosecution, decided to go to trial. And now we're doing this again. And to say that they're going to work with us, I don't have too much faith in it, that they're going to work with us on a timely basis to do this. Because we've been down this road before.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Just a question, how did the fire occur?
That fire occurred because it's a transfer station. Anything could have happened. Some probably a load of garbage might have been dumped from a site that might have some sparks in it.
But there's been no determination as to cause?
No determination by the fire department whatsoever. And there was an insurance claim in place, so there was an investigation, so on and so forth, and we did get our money back to rebuild. And then the fire occurred, the Ministry of Environment came, no determination how it occurred.
So
And that was the first time since we operated the business there.
So my suggestion is there's high hazard here. It needs to comply with city requirements, city building codes. We have to go through this process. It's just, for us, as you hear, we can't mandate anything. We can only suggest that there's a timeline that's imposed. So this is something that you must go through. It hasn't, you haven't had to do it up until now. It doesn't matter what the reasons are, but this is something that needs to occur. So my question to the city is is there a timeline that you could possibly live with? We understand that there are people now employed. We understand that there's a compliance that needs to be met. Is there any timing that the city can speak to? Because the gentleman is referring to a year or two. Your initial comment was that it would probably be a few weeks. We don't want to hold anybody to a specific date, but is there, would there be general consensus that a 3-month time frame could accommodate and move this file forward so that both the applicant can plan for their reemployment and their reconstruction, and that the city gets what they require, and that is proper documentation? In other words, would a 3-month period, again, it's an arbitrary thing, but is that something that the city could work with for a base site plan application?
I would like to say to the chair that I believe that this 3 months period is good in terms of starting the process. It may be possible to, depending on how complete the application is and how responsive the owner is to the staff comments when they review the site plan, a 3 months period may be adequate to complete the site plan approval process, but I'm not sure whether it be somewhat more than that, but we can make a beginning by at least saying 3 months.
Through you, Mr. Chair, is there a further suggestion that we could put into our motion, and that being that within following our decision within a couple of weeks that the city could provide what a base site plan application would include so that we have something quantifiable for the applicant?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, the application requirements for a basic site plan approval are online and available, including the application and the submission requirement.
Through you, Mr. Chair, could I ask the agent, are you aware of what that entails?
Yes, we do. I mean, we've been through many site plans, and we know what it entails. This is, again, my experience. It's not going to be done in 3 months.
A base site plan?
Basic.
Basic.
Basic or no basic, it will not be done and reviewed in 3 months. If it could be done in 3 months, it would be amazing. It will be a record.
Through you, Mr. Chair, my suggestion is we have two options.
Yeah.
We have one to defer indefinitely and one to defer within a time frame. There's not much else that we can do on our end. We don't want to tie anybody into something specific, but at the same time, we're trying to breed cooperation. And my suggestion is, if you say that it's not going to happen for a year or two, then that might come to fruition. Right now, we've had somebody from the city side say that they could, I don't know if the word expedite is correct, but that they could certainly take the application through and work through it as quickly as possible.
Fair enough. If we could do it, we'll work with the city, no problem. My issue is, what do we do in the interim with the building that's 90% built, and we only have to put a vinyl on top to have it completed before it rusts, and with the people that work, expect to come to work tomorrow morning? What do we do with them?
We're an inappropriate forum to ask that question.
I know you are. I know you are.
Okay. So that's the
but
answer.
I asked, I wanted to bring it
That's the
out.
answer. We can't answer that question.
I know. So deferring indefinitely, does that mean for staff that we have to stop working? Well, they're here.
Well, sir, the place was built without a building permit. Now you're paying the price some years later. What can we do about that? If a building permit had been applied for whenever it was constructed, you wouldn't be here.
But with all due respect, there was already a structure there even before we bought the property.
Well, then your
So why didn't the city enforce it before
that?
that? You have a picture of even before we bought the property with a structure on it.
Well, we have good discussion here, going back and forth, but we need to come up to some sort of decision. So would you propose, Ms. Doppler, something?
So my motion would be to defer this for a period of 3 months to come back at the October 2nd hearing, and that clarification is provided and confirmed between the city and the applicant within 2 weeks' time. I think that's all that I think we can offer.
So the motion put forward by Ms. Doffler to come back on October 2nd and defer for
Approximately 3 months.
approximately 3 months. Do we have seconder of this motion?
So just to play this out, so in 3 months, who's coming back?
Yeah, what's gonna happen in 3 months?
Applicant.
In 3 months, that there would be a site plan applied for and acknowledged by the city as to what is required. And we would be witness to a 3-month lapse, and hopefully some significant progress has made.
So through you, Chair, that's, to me, that's beyond the scope of the authority of this committee. And the applicant and staff need to, in good faith, work together to move forward the application.
With all due respect, if we do apply for a site plan, and let's say it gets approved, we don't need to come back here, do we? We have no need to come back here for an amount of variance. Then site plan's been approved, and building permit has been submitted and hopefully approved. So it's not necessary to come back here to the committee.
If I may, Mr. Chair, the site plan cannot receive final approval until the variances to recognize the reduction in side yard and rear yard setback have been approved through this body. Zoning services staff would not be able to sign off for zoning compliance on a site plan that didn't comply with the setback requirements of the bylaw. So if the site plan is advanced to a state where planning staff and transportation staff and engineering staff are generally in support of, then the approval of the variances would still rest with the Committee of Adjustment unless the applicant chooses to submit a site plan that complies with the bylaw and provides a 3-meter setback. But the size of the structure in itself requires a variance. So I suspect you will be asked to be approving some sort of variances on this case.
Ms. Myers, you willing to add something?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to reiterate that we are considering a motion to defer the application. We cannot attach any conditions to that motion.
I get it. Yeah. So we have a motion here by Ms. Doffler to defer till October the 2nd. Do we have a seconder? No? I'll second this motion. All in favor? It's 2 versus 2. Did not carry again. Would like to, my personal thing is to the applicant. As you can see the result, my hands are tied. However, I would like to move forward with this application. So if Mr. Crouch or Mr. Nurse can put forward the motion again.
Motion to defer the application indefinitely.
Motion to defer the application indefinitely by Mr. Crouch, seconded by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? It's carried. So this is indefinitely deferred.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling application A 18100, 247-8750 Ontario Inc. Property is located at 35 Kenview Boulevard.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Sir, I would like to have adjourn for the next meeting because I couldn't get hold of my agent. And I would like to maybe in the next meeting.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could have the name and the address of the speaker.
My name is Ranjit Singh and for 35 Kennedy Boulevard, Brampton, Ontario.
Just confirming that you are the agent on this application, sir.
Yes.
We did ask in the beginning, Mr. Singh, maybe you were not here at that time, if anyone wishes to defer the applications?
Pardon? Yeah, I had somebody with me, but I filled up myself the application.
Okay, so you need more time? Sorry,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
was the
yes.
question?
Yeah, if I can go in the next meeting maybe, so I can have few things to look after regarding that.
I don't think so. The next meeting will be appropriate, but I can certainly check your request, Ms. Myers. The gentleman is seeking a deferral to the next meeting. Is that something, is even possible before we open the discussion?
Through you, Mr. Chair, from a circulation perspective, it is provided there are no changes to this application, we can achieve compliance. So in terms of circulation, we can, it is possible for July 31st.
Okay. So, committee members, I think staff first, I should ask, what's your take on it as the application is requesting a deferral?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff's recommendation in the report is that based on the reasons discussed in the report, staff recommended that the application A18-1003 be refused. But as far as the deferral is concerned, staff has no issue with that.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wishes to speak on this application? Ma'am, could you please come forward?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Sir, could you please move a little bit at the side so they can have some time? Your name and address, please.
My name is Delia Popo Harding. My address is 3525 Brandon Gate Drive, Unit 28 in this Mississauga.
Okay.
I'm also on the board of directors of the Peel Condominium Corporation number 49. And from the time we received this application in the mail, I've received many calls from homeowners. They're concerned about the level of noise that will be increased due to this application. And we are requesting that the application be refused.
In regards to this variance, they're asking outdoor concerts or public assembly events. So the noise is from those assemblies, you mean?
Yes, the property that I live on is situated south of Kenview Boulevard, and so it's very close. And we already have to deal with the train. There's a train line right there, right behind the property, and the homeowners have to deal with that already. And to add that variance, it would cause increased noise level to the area.
Okay.
So we're asking that it be refused.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We have another lady here. Please, your name, address, please.
Yes, my name is Veltima Salem, 16 Shieldmark Crescent, Thornhill, Ontario, L3T3T5. I'm here representing Peel Condominium Corporation 408, which is a business park owner. If you have a presentation, if you would like to hear the full presentation,
Sure.
and some photographs.
Sure.
I have a copy for staff and for the applicant as well. Is there? Peel Condominium Corporation number 408 owns the property at 19 and 21 Kenview. If you're looking at the map, which is actually you'd have to push it up farther. Thank you. I've put a red circle on the property at Kenview. You can see that the circle covers lands that are in the floodplain as well as where the existing buildings are. The lands that are in the floodplain are leased to the golf course property for a nominal sum. And through the lease, they have permission to operate a golf course or ancillary or complementary uses. And it's our submission that a concert venue is not a complementary use. In 2016, a concert was held on the golf course property. And at this time, for this concert, they used the condominium's parking lot for parking. And it's my understanding that they actually charge $15 a car to park on the condominium's property, but without the condominium's permission. The photo that you see above this map, this was what the parking lot looked like the morning after the event. The event was advertised on Facebook. It was a concert that was to start at 10 p.m. and end at 4 a.m. And this picture was taken on Saturday, July 30th, the next morning at 10:14 a.m. So there was quite a bit of expense to the condominium owners to fix up their parking lot, and I believe part of the fence was also damaged. I think people decided to take a shortcut over the fence. In 2017, another concert was advertised for this property. So the owners of the condominium hired a security service to guard the 3 entrances to their parking lot. There's 3 entrances off Kenview to this to 19 and 21 Kenview. So there was no parking on the property, but it was an expense to the owners for this one occasion. It's my submission that the committee should not grant this minor variance to permit outdoor concerts or public assembly events on the golf course for the following reasons. The applicant has advised the events will attract 200 to 1,500 persons, and they've not made a commitment.
Excuse me, to the...
Yes?
At first, we are not going to look into the application. The discussion is going to be because the applicant is seeking for a deferral.
All right.
Yeah, so first we are going to look into it, whether the committee is in agreement to grant the applicant's wishes, or we want to proceed today. So just to let you know, but you can continue, but...
Thank you. Then I will sum up, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to remind you that your staff has said that a minor variance application is not an appropriate way to evaluate this application, that more detail is required, and perhaps more appropriate for them to file a rezoning application. And it's my submission on behalf of my client that the use is incompatible with the business park, and it's an inappropriate development for the property of the golf course. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience wishes to speak on this application regarding the deferral request by applicant? Seeing none. Committee members, how would you like to deal with? As the
Through you,
staff
Mr.
is
Chair.
already, they have no objection, I believe, on deferral request.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please go ahead.
This application fails on all 4 tests according to the staff report. More particularly, any public gathering there would put risk to life because it's in floodplain. And I'm not at all prepared to do anything but refuse this application.
Okay, so the first, I believe, we should deal with the deferral if we are refusing the deferral, and then I think we can look into the application, because then we need to give the time to the applicant to talk.
The staff report is so clear and the conservation permissions are so straightforward that I see no purpose in granting a deferral to come back and see an identical report in 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 9 weeks.
Exactly.
Chair, between, if we were to grant a deferral, there might be an event between now and the deferral, or many events between now and deferral. So I agree with Committee Member Crouch that we hear the application today, and so I would prefer that the deferral request be denied.
Okay, so are you putting forward a motion to
refuse
the deferral request? So the
Seconded.
motion has been put forward to refuse deferral request by Mr. Nurse, seconded by Mr. Crouch. All in favor? So it's carried by 3-1. My position is sometimes I do look at in a different way, but that's fine. Sir, your request has been denied, so you have to proceed today. You want to add something beside we have put forward your application?
Yes, sir. I have a golf course I'm running since 2007. And I did have a concert, and I rented the place to somebody outside, which the people I didn't know at that time. They had the concert, I rented him the place, and the next time I had to get my staff to get everything cleaned up. They made a little bit of mess, and I refused. I told them I'm not renting you the place anymore, because I didn't know the guys. And they had some caravana party, and they lied to me. And I went, there were so many people, 200, maybe there were 400 or 500 people, which I have refused those guys not to come back here. I'm not letting you do no more events like that. Right now, the golf courses business are very down, and most of the golf courses in Ontario, they have weddings, baby showers, and they have tournaments. They have a party after the tournaments too. which I want to change it because the business has gone really down, and I want to do 2 or 3 events in the summer, July or August. Maybe some community events, and some guys came last week. They want to do a charity event for the kids, for the sick kids, and I said, I'm not allowed. I have the application going on, and I will do it after I get the permit. And I don't want too many. Like, I don't want permanent. There's no permanent structure on that side. All I'm looking for is a tent and a temporary stage, which will be moved at the same after the event. If it's the same Saturday, it will move Sunday morning. It's only maybe 200 people, 300 people. I'm not doing no big concerts or nothing like that, which I did. I only did 1 or 2, but which has been refused. Only I'm doing is personal events, weddings. And the weddings, nobody's going to make a noise. It's like wedding or somebody have anniversary party or some community have a sick kids hospital. They want to do a charity event for the sick kids. I have a couple of people came for the kids. I'll do kids events and temporary events, and there's no permanent structure in this building. I'm not doing anything. The stage is portable, which will be moved at the same time on the same day or same whenever after the event it will be moved same time. And that will increase the business, and the business are hurting. Most of the golf courses are for sale because of the reason they're not doing too good a couple of years now. And my business wasn't doing too good, so I wanted to change it to help the business a little bit, so I can pay the taxes, I can pay the mortgage and everything, which I am having a hard time. And I would recommend if something can be done. I'm not doing it forever. In the winter, the golf course is closed from October till April. This year we had April snow, May, and we started in June. Then it's too hot. I couldn't do the business. And I said maybe 2 or 3 events will help. Small events, not big events. Like somebody's birthday, somebody's anniversary, somebody's small wedding, 200-300 people. And all the golf courses are in Ontario, they're doing that. And I'm responsible 100% of any damage, anything. I have insurance. I'll be covering from our insurance company if there's any damage. And there's no public complaint. I never had any public complaint. They have a music every day. Right now by the railway track, I have a railway track in front of the golf course. And every day there's a music going every Saturday and Sunday, and there's a temple. They have things going on Canada too. And nobody has complained. And I never complain about that. Unless they shut down the whole thing, every Saturday, Sunday, they can send the people. There's a music going on very loud. And I don't know why they don't. The lady is saying she's right there. And you can't even hear from there. And I'm there since 10 years.
Well, is there anything else you want to add, Mr. Singh, on this?
No, I want to see, like, this won't harm any public. Like the gentleman said, there's a no death threat there. It's public assembly, which I have a golf course license from the city of Brampton. I am running a golf course.
I will come to what Mr. Crouch indicate. So we have some correspondence here. We have letter from TRCA.
Yes.
And they does not support this application. And in particular to Mr. Crouch's comment that is located on the floodplain, and that's something they consider is not safe.
Yeah. I have, sir. I also called the Conservation Authority. They told me if you're building something, permanent structure, we will not issue you, because you have to go through the process. You have to apply in the Conservation Authority. We have to come check it out, how many feet, everything. Which is, I'm not doing any of those in the application. They think I'm doing a permanent structure. I'm not digging anything. We're not building anything. It's a portable tent, which is being in all the, sometimes in the parks and the recreation centers. And my zoning is open space recreation center, public assembly license, which I have for the golf course. And we have 200 people after the golf course. For the tournament, they do have a party. And I thought it's better I get a license. Sometimes there's 50 people, the kids come, their wives come after the tournament. So I wanted to be legal to get a permit. I still have a tournaments right now. And sometimes their wives, kids come and they want to enjoy it after the tournament. And I told them if it's more people, 100, I better get a license.
So, thank you for your submission, Mr. Singh. Beside that, we have a few other correspondence here. We have application regarding this application from Daniel Tesfaye, 3717 Keenan Crescent, Mississauga. They are in opposition of this application. We have Emmanuel testify from the same address. They do not support this application. We have Chaib testify from the same address in opposition, and we have another letter from 35 25 Brandon Gate, Unit 35, Mississauga, by Ghosh family in opposition. So this is the written correspondence we have received. The people, they are in opposition from the neighborhood against your application. So committee members, before I ask the staff and the general public again, would you like to say something further, or yes, please go ahead, Ms. Duffler.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what we've been asked to look at is to permit outdoor concerts for public assembly events. What we've heard and what we have in writing is that there's outdoor concerts that have been held in the past have created a problem. We have from the Conservation Authority that there's significant floodplain. In other words, I forget what the height was, but there was a significant height that might occur if there's a flood. I think what you're speaking about, I don't know if that falls under public assembly events, if you have a wedding or if you have a tournament or if you have a charity event. I'm a little confused at this point if we could just get clarification of all of those or some of those fall under public assembly events.
Yes, it's tournaments are under public assembly. The license I have is under public assembly. Charity events, I think it's under public assembly.
Through you, Mr. Chair, events that are related to the principal use of the property and the permitted use of a golf course are accessory. So yes, you could have a golf tournament and there might be a dinner and a reception afterwards. That is a permitted use. The types of events that have taken place in the past and that had been advertised earlier this year to take place on this property include setting up a tent on the golf course, setting up a stage on the golf course, and having outdoor entertainment for a public venue. It's not associated at all with the use of the property for a golf course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the weddings are allowed in all the golf courses in Ontario. I have checked all of them. I have called about 100 of them, and all the golf courses have weddings in the golf courses.
And if there was a banquet hall associated with this property, then the use would be permitted inside that banquet hall as part of the event and accessory to the golf course.
No, most of the golf courses, they don't have banquet halls. And they do outside with the tent, with the stage. And I have the proof for that. That's why I want the adjournment, so I can bring the proof from all the golf courses. And the city can even check it too. Any golf courses in Ontario, they're all doing weddings. They're all doing anniversary parties.
With respect, sir, I've been to many weddings at golf courses, and 99% of them are contained within the clubhouse banquet facilities. Can we ask staff for their comments, please?
Staff, could you please weigh in your further comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only comment, in addition to what I previously said, is that while staff is recommending refusal of this application, staff has also indicated in the report that a minor variance application is not considered to be an appropriate application based on the fact that there are noise and parking and public safety and environment related issues which cannot be examined in detail as part of a minor variance application. So a different kind of application may be required. So staff have also spoken to the owner and suggested to him that he should submit a pre-consultation application to the city so that the staff have the opportunity to see what kind of application could go into the depth of those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wishes to speak different than we already heard, or because at that time, if you may recall, I did mention that we are looking for a deferral. So since now we are looking into the application, if there is anything anybody wishes to add further, seeing none, yeah, please.
I just want to make one comment.
Sir, could you please?
The only comment I wanted to make and that I was leading into was that this application was proposing these public assembly uses without any indication in the application of how they were going to provide adequate parking within the parking lot, within the golf course property. And further, as has been discussed earlier by the committee, is that the land is within the floodplain, and the conservation has concerns about where the location of the tent and the stage were going to be, and the public safety related to that. And if it were to be moved, it would be moved somewhere else within the floodplain, and again, could be possibly closer to the business park. And so we've had nuisance issues and incompatibility issues, and I think they would not go away. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, committee members, if there's no further questions, would like to move forward.
Motion to refuse.
Motion to refuse. Sir, you want to say something? Sorry.
No, what I wanted to say, sir, the flood zone, if there's a flood, there will be nobody in the golf course. And there's never been a flood in that place. If there's a people are sitting there, we're not going to put the tent in the water. It's going to be only in the summer for July and August. And I'm going to have 2 or 3 events. I don't know what 2 or 3 events are going to do damage or somebody or public or a golf course, which I'm going to have small events, not a big events. I'm not doing no big events. And I don't see any damage to the golf course and nothing. I don't know where you can put if there's a floodplain, the zone is open space, recreation. I have another 2 acres where it's a recreation open space, which I can do it there. But there's no flood. I cannot put the people in the flood. There will be no tent in the flood. I don't see where the flood is coming from. Conservation Authority told me you cannot build without our permission permanent structure. And tent is not called a permanent structure. Temporary stage on the wheel is not a permanent structure.
Actually, Mr. Singh, the TRC report is indicating the flood issues in their report. And they specifically mentioned that which poses a threat to both life and property. So that's what the TRC report come back.
Sir, TRC, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. We are not going to have a wedding in the flood. We're not putting people in the flood. If there is a weather, if there is water there will be no event. We go according to the weather. June and July. It's only maybe 2 weeks. One week in July, 1 week in August. 2 or 3 events, and we're not going to put in the flood. If there is flood, it will be cancelled. But there is no flood there. It is a flood zone because the creek is passing in there. But we are not putting the event in the flood or in the creek. We're putting the people outside where the driving range is. We're putting in the range, so it's all a higher place. It's about 10 feet high, the driving range. And there's never water in the driving range there. Only water comes is by the creek if there's a flood. But I haven't seen a flood there. But the only thing they said, you cannot put a building, you cannot put a permanent structure, temporary structure. You want to put a tent, you want to put a stage movable. We don't have no concern with that. I called them personally. And they said, if you're putting, then we will refuse you for a permanent building in the flood zone. That's what they told me. They said, you don't need our permission for a tent or a movable stage, which is moving in the right way. Because you're not fixing it to the ground.
Well, I do understand what you're saying, Mr. Singh. At the same time, we can only act what the information is written in front of us directly from TRCA. But we do understand what you have said. So I guess the committee has to move on and make their decision. So, and then whatever the decision comes, anybody has 20 days to challenge that decision as well. That's the public or the applicant can exercise that right. So we have a motion here, unless you want to add something new, but we already gone through many
Yeah, what I
discussions.
explained to you, everything, like,
Yeah.
it's only temporary thing for 1 or 2 years. I'm not going to do forever. I don't know yet. Maybe 1 or 2 years. I want temporary for maybe 2 months, July and
The
August.
application
Maybe.
we have here, that's not for a temporary period here.
But I can use it temporary. Like I'm the owner. You can maybe recommend for 2 years or 3 years, and we'll see how it goes. If there's a problem, then I will.
Well, to your comments, I can again put forward that to satisfy you in front of committee, if the committee
for 2
may
months
consider, committee may consider for temporary usage
Yeah.
or the permit. So that's up to the
Maybe
committee.
only 3 months, maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Maybe 2 charity events and 2 other events. I don't think it's going to harm anybody.
You mean three weeks,
3
or 3
months,
months
like,
from now,
like
or
on July, August, September.
every
June.
year?
Yeah, that's it in the summer. There's winter where the golf courses are closed in October. October to April, we have nothing there. The golf course is not open till April 15. So April 15, we start to cleaning up, April, May, and June, June, July, August, maybe 3
Well,
events, or maybe
Mr.
4
Singh,
events.
the committee, I don't think so, the committee has that authorization to make it approved for every year certain time, but we have done in the past, we have made the decisions for good for 2 years or 3 year or 5 year temporary basis. So that's what I understood.
I will
your-
request, sir, whatever is possible, maybe 2 years or 3 years or 1 year to see how it goes. And if it's harming anything, I will stop it.
Okay, thank you. So
Yes, sir.
committee will consider this request as well.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Crouch?
Motion to refuse?
There's a motion on the table by Mr. Crouch to refuse the application. Do we have seconder? Seconded by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? It's refused. Sorry, sir, we do empathize with you, but the committee has spoke, and your application has been refused. You have 20 days to appeal this decision to LPAT, and you can contact Secretary Treasurer anytime.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment through the chair. Your application is very specific and it doesn't offer any temporary period. If what you're describing is something that the city can work through with you, that's beyond concerts, if they're smaller.
City is not going to work with nothing because they're getting paid and they're getting the taxes. I have to pay the taxes and I have to make extra revenue. Wedding or concerts or, I don't know what's the wrong with sick kids hospital. If somebody want to do charity event for the kids, I don't know if something's wrong or it's illegal. I don't see that, I don't understand that.
So
That's why I applied they don't permit, I want temporary use.
through you, Mr. Chair, we can't open this up again. We've had to vote on what is presented to us and the information that we
I
have.
can change it, I can.
That would have to go through another process.
So I can change the application or I put a new application for temporary use.
And that would be for discussion with the city, because we would want to make sure that we're not hearing something in the similar vein that we have in front of us. And then you could explore what construction means, whether it's, what is temporary, what is not temporary, because we don't understand what that means.
Temporary mean 2 years permanent, to see how it goes. Your
But that's-
application's been
yeah,
refused,
that's-
sir.
that's
It's the
not-
end of today.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I can just
Please.
offer some information here. The committee has made a decision on this application. If the committee wishes to reopen the discussion on this application,
Then only.
we would require a 2/3 majority vote.
Sir, as Ms. Myers indicate, this application we already dealt with. If you want to open up, if you're requesting to open up another discussion at this point, we have to go into the vote again. If 3/4 majority allows, then only we can talk about this further. Otherwise, you have, as I indicated earlier, you have 20 days to appeal this decision, and you can contact Secretary Treasurer after the meeting, and you can file that application to LPAT. That's the appeal tribunal where you can appeal this decision. Those are your rights at this point.
All right.
Okay? Thank you so much for being here.
Calling application A18101, Pardeep Singh and Parajat Danoa. The property is located at 35 Bellini Avenue.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Pardeep Singh, residence at 35 Bellini Avenue, Brampton, Ontario, L6P0E2. Basically, we had requested for 4 variances. We're building a pool in our backyard, so everyone knows. Some of you guys might have been there. We have over 2 acres. The way the property is situated, where we're building the pool right now, it's because of the septic bed that we have. We're trying to get a variance for the setback from the neighbors, and variance for a cabana, and having 2 structures on the property as well too, and also building a washroom on the property, just for toilet and a sink. I've gone through the recommendations. I've gone basically all of them, and they seem all fine, except kind of have a question on one of the things where we have a play structure on the property as well too. Which our neighbors, even their kids, come along and play along as well too. I was actually called by the city. Someone had called in that I might need to get a variance on that. At that time, we had decided we might not keep the structure because it's kind of getting old. As we speak to the kids now and the family, they're wondering if we can still keep that structure for a longer period until it kind of gets destroyed and we'll throw it away.
So, sure, no problem. By the time the staff will present their report, I'm sure they will answer this question better. Board members, any question at this point to the applicant? None? Anyone in the audience wishes to speak on this application? None? Staff, could you please weigh in your comments? And another request made by applicant, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff have reviewed this application and recommend that the application A18-101 be approved subject to 8 conditions being imposed. Condition number 1, that the applicants secure a building permit for the construction of the proposed swimming pool and accessory structure. Condition number 2, that a landscape plan showing existing trees removed due to the construction and compensation tree planting locations within the property be approved to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering Department prior to the construction within 180 days of the committee's decision or within an extended period at the discretion of the Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering Department. Compensation trees shall be provided at a rate of 2 new trees for each tree removed and shall have a minimum size of 50 millimeter caliber. The plan shall also show a vegetated screen along the property in line in the area of the pool and cabana to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering. This vegetated screen shall be implemented within 1 year of the date of the committee's decision or at an extended period to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering upon written request from the owner. Condition number 3, that the existing play structure be removed within 180 days of the date of decision or an extended period at the discretion of the Director of Development Services upon written request from the owner. Condition number 4, that drainage from the accessory structure be directed onto the subject property. Condition number 5, that the accessory building, which is the cabana, shall not be used as a separate dwelling unit and that the permission for habitable space in the accessory structure shall be limited to the provision of a washroom and 1 sink. Condition number 6, that the accessory structure be primarily of open construction with the fully enclosed area for washroom and mechanical room limited to 15 square meters. Condition number 7, that the extent of the variances be limited to that shown on the sketch attached to the public notice. And condition number 8, that failure to comply with and maintain the conditions of the committee shall render the approval null and void. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pravila, you were...
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. Yes, it was zoning staff who recognized on their site visit that there was also the play structure, which does count as an additional accessory structure. Our understanding was that that play structure was to be removed, and so we did not include the additional variances in the public notice that would be required to keep it at this point in time. The applicant does, if through you, you would be supportive of a deferral, notice could be recirculated. That would be the only alternative at that time to allow that play structure to be recognized and made legal. Alternatively, the committee does have the option of removing the requirement from the conditions that it be removed within a specified period of time so that it doesn't encumber any other approvals of the other stated variances that you might want to offer today. I do note as well that I have difficulty with the wording of condition number 5 in as much as it's limiting it to 1 sink, and I would note that there's a sink in both the washroom and as well as a separate kitchen type bar sink. I would recommend that the clarification wording be added, that it be limited to the provision of a 2-piece washroom and then in parentheses, toilet and bathroom sink, in addition to one kitchen sink.
So 2-piece washroom and 1 kitchen sink.
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you. Just on record, we do have a letter from TRCA with no objection on this application. Sir, how would you like to deal? You would like to ask for a deferral as if you want to include the play area as Ms. Corazzola just indicated?
Deferral for all the variances, you mean?
Like, because the notice has to be recirculated, because you, in your application, what my understanding is you did not ask for this play structure before?
Yeah, then they had called. We figured that we might just take it off because it's kind of deteriorating and it's going to break soon. So now I'd like to continue on. I'm pretty sure it'll be gone.
Or the second options were, Ms. Corazzola, as you indicated, that
The second option would be for the committee to decide whether or not you would be agreeable to the removal of condition number 3 that mandates that the play structure be taken down within 180 days.
okay, I think
And in that case, the applicant would be susceptible to a prosecution on the minor variance he didn't ask for, but I think what's out there is the chances of the play structure being a problem is pretty small, and it'll be removed in a few years anyway, because it's only got a few years life left.
Exactly.
Well, the neighbors had a small one, and when we had the windstorm, it's kind of blown away. This is pretty solid, so we had a couple of neighbors coming along all the time as well, too, playing around, so.
Okay. So committee, I would like to deal with, if there's no other business, would like to move forward.
Well, I'm quite prepared to move for approval with the deletion of condition number 3 and the appropriate numerical changes to condition 5.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Crouch with deletion of condition number 3 and amendments to condition number 5. Do we have seconder? Seconded by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? Yes, this is approved. You can keep your play area.
Thank you.
Calling application A 18065, Denise Halladine and Andrew Powell. The property is located at 14 Yellowknife Road.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you're ready.
No problem. Please go ahead. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Denise Halladine. I live at 14 Yellowknife Road, Brampton, Ontario. Do I need my postal code? Or is that okay? Do you need more information? Oh, okay. I'm requesting a minor variance for a deck with a roof enclosure above it. Or not enclosure, but a roof over my deck. And this was a deferral from a previous meeting. So I have talked to someone regarding if I take the top off, if I could turn it into a pergola. They said, based on their plan or their guidelines, that's still considered a roof, so therefore it doesn't make a difference. I also tried to get a comment if I could pull it away from the house, if that would be an issue, but nobody got back to me, so I have no idea what I do from here.
Okay, we will address some of your concerns when the staff's turns comes. Any question by committee member to the applicant? None. Anyone in the audience wishes to speak on this application? None. Staff, could you please weigh in your comments? And the lady just indicates some.
Through the chair, staff are providing the same recommendation as it was last time, that variance 1 be refused, and the minimum open roof porch encroach for the open roof porch encroachment shall be 1.8 meters. 2, that variance for the deck encroachment be restricted to the extent as shown on the sketch attached to public notice. Number 3, that the floor of the deck have a maximum height of 0.74 meters, which is 2.43 feet above grade. Number 4, that the owner obtain a building permit for the open roof porch and deck within 60 days of the date of the decision of the committee. Number 5, that failure to comply with and maintain the conditions of the committee shall render the approval null and void. To comment on the question from the applicant, I did speak to the applicant concerning the roof being converted from a roof to a pergola. I did confirm through zoning that that would actually still be considered a roof, so it would still be subject to the zoning bylaw. I haven't heard the second comment about.
I did leave a message, no one called me back, so.
I'm not.
sure. Sorry.
So either I didn't get that message or so I wasn't able to look into that second comment. Staff do note that we went on site and can confirm for the committee's information that the first structural post closest to the dwelling is located 2.36 meters, which is 7.75 feet from the rear wall. From somebody went on site, so the actual roof has 2 posts, and so the first post is approximately 8 feet, and the second post is 16 feet. And the requirement is that the open roof porch can only go 5.9 feet into the rear yard. So, I mean, that information probably should be reiterated by zoning and confirmed. But as far as I understand, I just wanted to bring that to committee's attention as to what the build structure currently, how it currently exists.
Can I also just make a comment? So they're asking me to cut it before that post. Structurally, the roof won't hold up, so I'd have to somehow try to move a post so that the roof will be structurally sound and won't fall on someone.
Sorry, that was
Right.
the measurement of 2.36 meters includes the post as well. So it would include the ability to include that first post. That is the measure. That's currently
Sorry, ma'am.
that's
Please
the
let me finish
measurement.
first.
That's just for the committee's information. That post is 2.36 meters from the dwelling, including the post, as far as the measurement that I was provided.
Please go ahead now.
No, I'm just trying to figure out what he's saying, because they're recommending that I cut to 5.9, right? And he's saying my first post is 7.5,
Yeah.
right? So if I do cut it to 5.9, there won't be any supporting posts at the end, right? Is that correct? I'm just trying to.
Correct. We are recommending refusal of the encroachment, and that it should be as per the bylaw. It is for the committee's information that the first post is located 2.36 meters from the dwelling.
Okay, the first post located is 2.3.
Can I say anything, or are you still?
No, please
Okay.
go ahead.
Because I put the roof on the deck because, as I've stated before, and I put it in my recommendation, that I am allergic to the sun. So when I'm outside for too long, I break out in hives. So I covered my roof. I was going to buy a roof, but I thought it would be cheaper to just build something over it. Now, when I hired the person, as I stated before, to do it, they told me they would get all the necessary permits and application approved. Now, I've realized they didn't do that. This is why I'm here.
We discussed that in the previous meeting
Yeah,
as
this
well.
is why I'm here. Now, they're saying, based on their guidelines, which I've read, that you have to be within a certain feet away from the house. You can only go so far. But with also respect to, you have to be at least 2 feet away from all your step back, which I am more than from all of my step back. So based on his guidelines, that is the whole reason for this committee, is for if I want to go above that guideline, I come and I try to apply for minor variance, which is what I'm trying to do.
Okay. Any members, any question, comment? If no other business, then looking for a motion to proceed as staff has put together some recommendations. And we already had discussions in the previous meeting because this is a deferred item in this agenda.
So based on your recommendation, you're asking me to cut it, the roof, right? It's just the roof we're having an issue with. I'm just asking, how do I cut it and make sure it's still structurally sound? How would I be able to hold it up?
Well,
I don't
staff,
think we have an engineer on the
Yes.
committee about cantilevered roofs, but it would still be an encroachment into the backyard.
No, but in your guidelines, I'm allowed to have a shed and,
Shed.
and a roof, a gazebo at a certain meters, right? Now, you guys are refusing based on what exactly? I still don't understand what's the issue with the roof.
If I may try to offer some
Please.
clarification. The roof structure is regulated by different provisions in the zoning bylaw than a standalone accessory structure that is completely detached from the house. The roof structure is allowed to project a maximum of 1.8 meters into the required rear yard. This has been extended beyond that. If it was a standalone accessory structure, a gazebo or one of those shade structures you might purchase, with the fabric covered roof, that would have to be evaluated under the accessory structure provisions of the zoning bylaw. The issue that may occur if it is a standalone accessory structure is that the height of that structure would then be measured from the ground, not from the deck level. Since the deck is already just under a meter off the ground, that might impact the overall permitted height of the accessory structure, and you would be dealing with a different variance there for the height of the building itself from the ground. The variance before you today is for a roof that is attached to the building and projects farther into the rear yard than would be permitted for a roof. I think planning staff have indicated that they're not supportive of a roof that projects any more than what the zoning bylaw would normally allow, which is 1.8. And then for your consideration, they've also noted that the first post is approximately 2.5 meters away. So yes, there would need to be some structural modifications made, and a building permit is still required. There's an outstanding order to comply for construction of this roof without a building permit. So through that building permit process, the designer of the deck and the roof structure would have to verify how that will be supported.
So I hope that clarifies lots of your questions, especially the safety of the structure, because in the new process, this procedure need to be followed properly.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just trying to figure out, so you're telling me to just take the whole roof off and then rebuild it? Is that what we're saying?
Under the new permits.
And as I stated before, can I not just detach the roof from the house?
That you can work with the staff later on. Right now, what we are dealing, we have this variance in front of us, and we need to look into that.
And if I did cut it, say I did cut it and a thing, can I get a separate gazebo? Would that be an issue after? To attach to
what,
the other
Ms.
portion
Corzola
separately
just,
standing?
indicated.
Because again, I'm now still gonna be exposing myself to the sun. So I'm
Again.
trying my best not to break out,
Yeah,
is what I'm
again.
trying to figure this out.
Again, through you, Mr. Chair, a gazebo would need to be evaluated for compliance with the bylaw. The height of the gazebo would be measured from the ground, not from the deck. If the height of the gazebo measured from the ground is higher than 3 meters, which I suspect it might be, then a further variance would be needed to allow a gazebo to be placed on the deck. Could they place a gazebo that's less than 3 meters off the ground on the ground? Absolutely.
I hope you understand what the discussion is.
Yeah.
So what we are going to deal with this, what is proposed in front of us. So that's what this committee is going to look for. Other modifications are certain changes.
Should I turn it into a sunroom? Would it be a better solution for me to enclose it? Would it be something that is totally somehow into your zoning bylaw? Because I don't really want a sunroom. I just want to be able to go outside and enjoy my backyard with the coverage I have.
I do understand and empathize with your concerns, but you need a different separate variance for that, and you may apply for that at the later time for the sunroom.
Okay.
Committee members, if there's no further business, looking forward to move.
Motion to support staff recommendations.
So we have.
Seconded.
We have Mr. Nurse proposing motion to support
Before
staff.
we go, so what happens after this is I have to take the roof off and get someone to come in and reevaluate how do I go to making it only 6 feet or 5.9 feet? Is
Well,
that what that is?
You have, first of all, any decision here,
Okay.
you have 20 days to challenge.
Okay,
You may agree or may not, that's your right.
okay,
And then further, you can work with the staff and they can give you further directions or what are the guidelines, how to move further from there. Okay, so we have a motion here proposed, recommending staff's recommendations by Mr. Nurse, seconded by Mr. Crouch. All in favor?
I guess I can say anything.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is there anybody I can contact? Like, who do I actually contact?
You can certainly get staff's contact information and.
From where, sorry?
Sorry?
From who? Or is it on here?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would recommend, since there is an outstanding order to comply,
Yeah.
that the owner speak to the building division. I suspect she's already been in attendance at the offices over on McLaughlin Road, but they can guide her through the application process if she chooses to bring the structure into compliance with the zoning bylaw. Zoning and building staff will be able to help over there.
Does
Okay.
that address your concern?
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you so much.
Calling application 18073, Satnam and Harpreet Karan, properties located at 9092 Creditview Road.
Good morning, Chairman, council members, and staff. For the record, my name is Peter Vozikas, representing the owners of 9092 Creditview Road for the application before us. Based on our last meeting, we have since submitted a revised site plan, arborist report, along with additional photos viewing our property between the neighbors' front yards and including a cross-sectional view between these properties to clearly identify the neighbor's view of our property with the amount of actual visibility they will have. Please bear in mind that our application is only for reduction in side yard setbacks in conjunction with the current zoning bylaws. Our last meeting dealt heavily in conversation about the existing trees and privacy issues, which I felt was a little bit out of context on the application. We had indicated in our last meeting that all the trees on the northerly side yard will remain, and we are still maintaining that intention with all of our revised documentation. Although, keep in mind that at the time of the first application, I had less than 10 hours to produce an arborist report. This arborist report came about on the day of the phone call, the day prior to circulation. So the gentleman who produced the arborist report had done it randomly and quickly on my behalf to get it done prior to circulation. There was some errors there indicating that 21 trees were to be removed, which was never the case. We have done a great deal of work to accommodate the neighbors with respect to their privacy issues and with the view of the existing trees. Again, as a reminder, this application is for reduction in side yard setbacks only. The revised arborist report identifies all the trees to remain and their species, and we've also indicated the height of the existing trees based on the surveyor's report. Okay, the report also identifies trees to be removed in order to make way for proposed construction. There will only be 5 trees to be removed, whereas 3 of those are ash trees, which are infected and must be removed. These are exempt. We've also revised the site plan to move the house closer to the south lot line in order to maintain the integrity of the cedar trees on the northerly side yard. Please note that these trees are cedars, and which are very hardy trees. Any slight impact to the roots of these trees will not affect the health or growth of these trees as stipulated in the arborist report. And with respect to the document presented in our last meeting brought forth by one of our neighbors speaking about the trees along Creditview Road to remain, we are not sure if this document was an agreement between the developer and the city, but we feel that this document should only speak on behalf of the subdivision that was constructed by him and not the adjacent owner's lands. We have not had the opportunity to review this document or its origin. We feel this document bears no merit on this application. Please also take into consideration that the lands directly to the south of our new home is slated for proposed subdivision. The developer of those lands will be required to take down as many trees as required in order to make way for future development of his homes. Having said that, the owner of 9092 Creditview Road would like to insist and request the developer of the lands directly to the south and to the planning department to retain all the trees adjoining these two properties along the lot line in order to maintain the privacy between my client's proposed home and the future buyers of the developed land to the south. Based on all this new information provided, we feel the proposed variance of the side yard setbacks is minor in nature and request for the chair and council members and the committee to find this acceptable in order to grant permission to proceed. Now, I also have photos taken between the houses on the north side. So each photo is numbered 1, 2, and 3, which depicts.
Mr. Corzola, could you please assist the applicant?
Each photo is numbered between the houses 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and 3 and 4. As you can see, the trees are extremely tall and very full in bloom. It'll be very difficult to see the house, maybe the rooftop. And in any case, even if we were to be set back at 7.5 meters, which is the zoning bylaw today on that land, you would still see the rooftop. And if I were at 7.5 meters, I wouldn't be here today discussing this.
Okay, thank you. That's all your submission?
That's it.
Okay, committee members, any question to the applicant? Seeing none. Anyone in the audience wishes to speak on this application? We have the document from Troy and Jacqueline Burr.
My name is Bin. My address is 71 Follow Field, and yeah, as you can see on these pictures, those trees look tall. Can I also present the picture?
Sure, you can come
from here.
No problem.
Yeah, this is the. This is the breakfast room from my main floor. This is the view. As you can see, those trees don't cover everything. If the proposed 2-story building goes up, I will see it. I will see the 20-meter long side wall, brick wall. And I can also show you the other pictures looking out of my main bedroom and master bedroom.
You want to show that now? Maybe you can come here and that'll be easy for everyone because your phone just picture disappeared after 5 seconds.
And this is from the breakfast. This is from my master bedroom.
Okay.
You can see it only covers like a 1.5 story, not like a 2-story.
Well, if this picture is from your master bedroom, then it looks higher to me because I can see the trees are going up to second level.
1.5 level, I would say. It's not like really cover 2-story.
Okay, please
Yeah.
go ahead.
And yeah, those I don't know what's that tree. This very tall tree.
Uh-huh.
It's going to remain there, or it's in the way of the new proposed building. It will be removed. I don't think this is the big tree between their house and our house, because it's so wide. It's the width definitely is more than 3.3 meter. It's in the way of the new proposed building. So if it's gone, if this tree has to be removed for the new house, what I can see from my window. And this is also the from my main bedroom.
Main bedroom?
Yeah, I have, my house has like 4 bedrooms.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 master bedroom, 1 main bedroom,
Okay.
both facing south.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, yeah. And also, I like to show you one picture. This is the elevation from my back side.
Okay.
Yeah, this one is the main bedroom. That
Another
one
one
is
is
the
master.
master bedroom.
Yeah.
And as you can see here, this is the my
Living
great room.
family?
Great room. It's open to above great room.
Yeah.
As you can see, the window is all the way goes up.
Yeah.
So you know what I can see afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the complainant. If this application for the large property next door was not being made, but the subdivision was coming up from the south to your rear lot line, what position would you take?
Sorry, can you?
So instead of looking at the side of this particular elevation and the trees, you were looking at new backyards of a development similar to your own.
Look, the bylaw requires 7.5 meter setback. So my question is why we cannot respect this bylaw. Now they apply only 3.3 meter setback. And look, this new house, the proposed new house is like 6,000 square feet. And it's big, and I would say, for such a big size house, it's better to maintain a proper distance from the other house. It's for the safety as well. Anything accident happen, you know, the surrounding existing house can also be safe. Can have like have a chance.
Probably the
to be
biggest
safe.
hazard would be blowing down the trees you want to maintain, but, okay, thank you.
Let's say like it's a big from the proposed plan, you can see the sideways like more than 20 meter long. It's like almost like 2 lots.
Yeah.
It's pretty like from look, if I look out of my window from this side to the other side, it's only a wall, their side
No,
wall.
we do understand, sir, even from the previous meeting, we remember you coming forward and bringing your concerns,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So no problem, this committee is going to keep in mind while making the decision for
And,
your concerns.
Yeah, one more thing I like to add, like
Please go ahead.
yeah, because you know my backyard is on the south side of my house. You know, after they built this 2-story big house, I wouldn't get any sunlight in my backyard. It will be in a shadow, and if I plant anything, flower, it won't like bloom in the shadow. And besides, it's this new house quite big. I also worry about the snowfall in the winter. Those snow gonna come to the backyards.
It's hard to
Of
say
our
at this
side.
point, but the general thing is the sun goes from east to west
Yeah.
versus south to north. So, but we do understand your concerns, and as I mentioned earlier, we hear you last time as
Yeah.
well, and thank you for coming again.
Okay.
I know it's you're taking your time, and we will keep in mind all your concerns.
Okay. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you for being here. Anybody else from the public here? Not. We have this correspondence by Please come forward, sir.
Yeah, my name is Shankar Adley, it's regarding 73 Fallowfield Road, right? Is that an
Sorry,
interview?
could you please spell your name?
Shankar Adley,
Shankar.
K-E-R,
K-E-R. Last name?
Adley,
How you spell it, please?
A-R-T-L-Y,
Okay, and your address, please?
73 Fallowfield Road.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was concerning for that, we want only allow to like small, big house for that, only bungalow house.
Uh-huh.
So that's our privacy is we are a corner house, right? So this now they're living the people there. They're too much shouting over there and they're playing over there. That's our privacy is go away. So now they're making big house. There's so many people gathering over there. Then more privacy is gone for that.
Well, for those kind of incident, this committee does not have the authority. If there's any other incident you see in the future, you need to call the responsible authorities.
No, we call in there the police, right? Then they after that don't call the police, right? Then they after that we can do it. We can do it, right? Now they are like all the time they are coming everything. They are doing so much noise over there, right? So now they're making the big house. The two houses they destroy that. I call the city. They like call this number, call this number, call this number. Nothing happened, right? So at the end of the day, they destroy the house. There's too much noise is coming
Sir, I
on my
get it,
home.
your
There's too much
concerns,
dirt
but-
is coming on.
Sir, I get your concerns, but the noise can be made from a small house or that can be made from the bigger house.
No, when
I
they
don't
cut
think
the
so.
tree, then there's too much noise coming into my home, right? So is I have like a backyard on my street, and the backyard. Then they cut the tree, then there's too much noise. I can't sleep in. So if they like trees there, then they small
No,
home.
that is concerned. So your concern is about the trees mainly.
Tree
which-
and small bungalow home, right? So we are not making a lot like big house. So
So
it's-
the single story home, that's
Yes.
what, okay, no problem.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else you wishes to add beside that, or?
No, nothing else.
Thank you so much for coming forward to the committee. There was a lady, ma'am, you wanna come forward as well?
Hi, my name is Leena and I own 69 Fallowfield Road.
Your full name, please?
Leena Sohal.
L-E-N-A, Lena?
Yeah, L-E-E-N-A, yeah.
And last name S-O-H-A-L?
Sohal, that's right.
Okay, and your address, please?
69 Fallowfield Road.
Okay, thank you, please proceed.
Yeah, so like in the pictures, they're showing the trees which are a little bit further. So that's why they look taller. The trees that are right beside the fence, they are not that tall. So if they come up with a two-story building in there, the only thing when we go to our backyard, we'll just see the big wall, that's it. And it's not gonna have a very good view for us. So that's our main concern. And then other thing is, like, I know you said that the sun comes from the east side, not from the south side,
Yeah.
but it's gonna block a lot of our sunlight. Because like it's right there, it's not gonna give us any sunlight when we are, like, for our planting in the backyard too. So that's our main concern, yeah. So like, Shankar said, if they're allowed to build, just one-story home, that'll be good for us. But if it's a two-story home, then it's not gonna, it's not gonna be, our backyards are not gonna be very attractive.
We understand and we make a note of your concerns, Ms. Tuffer, please go
Through you,
ahead.
Mr. Chair, just a clarification for everybody. We are here about a northerly interior side yard setback and the southerly interior side yard setback.
Not
We are
for
not
two-story.
here for two-story. They are allowed to build a two-story home. So there's nothing in front of us to ask whether we will approve two-story or not. They are allowed to build two-story. So all we have for us that is being requested of us to look at is how far the setback will be, whether it's what is required or slightly less. So they're asking for slightly less, and that's the concern that you need to focus on.
But when we bought these houses 6 years ago, we were told these things are not gonna change. They never told us that somebody's gonna come there and build a two-story house. So that's the reason we've specifically picked up that lot, because the front is all open, and then the behind because of this house, and we had the trees. So we had that like perfect without paying too much money, looking for a ravine lot and all that. So now after 6 years, if they're coming up with their higher houses, then what did we pay this for? Like our purpose is like, then the builder should have told us that there will be like houses coming up in the future. So they never told us these things, and they sold us these lots.
If I please comment on this one, I think if that's the case, you should contact the builder, right? So, because at this point, as Ms. Duffner said, to you and to other residents who, they all mentioned about single-story home versus double-story home. We are not looking that, like, at this point, this committee is not looking the variance for the single-story or the double-story. We are looking for the setbacks, and that's what they are requesting. That means the distance from the lot line. So that's what we are looking, not the height.
So if we are complaining about the height, who should we contact then?
Well, I think according to the bylaws, what they are proposing, that fit in within the bylaws.
Oh.
That's what my understanding is, right, Ms. Corzone?
That's correct. The maximum building height for this property is 10.6 meters, which will easily accommodate a two-story dwelling.
So it doesn't bother city that is affecting the other neighbors? Like it's blocking our view and everything? I know you have to go with your bylaws and everything, but then you guys don't look at how our backyard is gonna look?
No, well, we already, that's the reason we are taking and making notes of all your concerns.
Yeah, no, but because you're saying like that they're approved, like, or they will be approved for the two-story, and tomorrow if we have to sell our house and people are looking at the big wall in the back, we might not be able to sell our property for the value that we will be looking for. So the city is not gonna protect us?
Well, you can bring that at a later time to the staff and you can discuss with them.
Okay, we'll do that then.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much for being here. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, council members, my name is Troy Birch.
Yes.
I reside at Lot 103. My wife and I have made some submissions, which I'm sure you have. You just pointed out that there was an approval for a two-story dwelling. We were not aware of that. As you can see by my neighbor's reaction, we were totally unaware of that, and I think that's been the point of our focus here, so maybe it's been the wrong focus. Now, you mentioned that a moment ago that the city has already approved the two-story dwelling, right?
No, I'm not really saying that city already approved.
Okay.
But what I meant to say that we have, the variance is not about the stories in front of us, in front of this committee. So the variance is, there's only one variance, and that is about the setback. Yes.
So how can we address that concern to the city? I mean, Lena was just asking, I guess the question is, who can we present that to challenge the height or of the dwelling?
Well,
Through you, Mr. Chair, the zoning bylaw permits that height.
The zoning bylaw that was, I'm sorry.
That was in place when you
That
bought
was
your
in
place.
place when the homes were built.
Okay.
This land is in a zone that is designated residential hamlet. I'm sorry. And the height for a building in a residential hamlet zone is 10.6 meters and has always been 10.6 meters. There's no additional approval required for a two-story dwelling, much like the building height limitations for the homes that the residents reside in that back onto this lot. It's the same height requirement and limitation. Because there is a dwelling there that is currently one story, does not mean that the applicant or the property owner could not develop that to its fullest potential. Would be a maximum height of 10.6 meters. That has always been in place and could have been verified as part of a due diligence check if they were interested to see what the property behind them could have allowed or been developed for. Certainly the setback is being deviated from. 7.5 meters is the required side yard setback in this hamlet zone, and that's what the variance before you is today.
Okay, so you mentioned that Mr. Chair, that you understand, you're hearing all of our concerns, and when making your decision, you consider our concerns. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Also, the pictures that are represented or that were taken at street level, they really do not represent the view whatsoever. A lot of those trees are far back, so what you're seeing is a bunch of trees and bushes in the picture, but many of them are far back from the fence, so you can't really, it's not an accurate,
We have seen the
representation.
property as well during our site visits,
Yes,
right?
okay, very good. So you're fully aware.
Yep.
I guess, I think ultimately, I think what we're all trying to convey here is that when you work your whole life to buy your dream home, and
Yeah.
you wake up and you look outside and you see the beautiful trees and everything, you kind of want that to remain. You know what I mean? You work so hard to buy your home, and then only to have later on looking at a brick wall. It's really disruptive to your life. I mean, what do? Do you sell your home? And as Lena said, are you going to get the same value for your home? So those are some of the concerns we had, and I just wanted to make you aware of that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming and bringing your concerns. Any other member from the public? If not, so you want to say something?
I think we've tried to address all the neighbors' concerns regarding the visibility of the home by retaining all the trees. Those photos are taken at street level, which is at a higher level than the fence. As you can see, they're all in full bloom. A two-story home is permitted. We are within the height limitations of a two-story home, and
We already
actually,
discussed about that, sir.
yeah, and our home that we're producing is of a greater value to the neighborhood, such as the southerly homes, which is probably going to increase the value of their homes at the same time.
I don't think we'd view that as expert evidence.
No,
either
we're just
way.
guessing, right?
So, staff, could you please weigh in your comment unless you need to add something else, sir?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff have reviewed this application and recommend that the application A18073 is supportable, subject to 6 conditions. The condition number 1 is that a custom home architectural control review application be approved prior to construction. Condition number 2, that a conceptual landscape plan showing proposed hard surfaces and soft surfaces and identifying feasible locations for new tree plantings to compensate for removed healthy trees be approved to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering Department within 180 days of the committee's decision, or within an extended period at the discretion of Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering Department. The landscape plan shall be implemented within 1 year of the date of the issuance of a building permit. Condition number 3, that a grading plan prepared by a professional engineer or an Ontario land surveyor be approved to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering Department as part of a custom home grading and drainage plan application prior to construction. Condition number 4, that the extent of the variances be limited to that shown on the sketch attached to the public notice. Condition number 5, that no balconies above the ground floor be permitted that are open to the side yards and or allow overlook of directly flanking lots as demonstrated through building elevations to be reviewed to the satisfaction of the Director of Development Services. And condition number 6, that failure to comply with and maintain the conditions of the committee shall render the approval null and void. Thank you.
Thank you.
With
Sir?
respect to condition number 5 regarding the rear yard balcony, we do intend to build a solid privacy wall, at least 1.82 meters in height on the edge of that rear balcony. The other side is already inset in behind the house, so it's non-visible to the neighbors. But the other end is open, so we will build a solid wall, which we'll apply for during building permit application to show that wall constructed. As well as the other items, we already have our architectural control approval, landscape plan, survey, grading plan.
Sorry.
Scarzola?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just in hearing that there will now be a privacy wall on top of a balcony, which would normally be treated as a fence and therefore not permitted in a permitted encroachment, I would need to evaluate whether or not that privacy wall, if mandated by the committee, is going to comply or cause any other compliance issues with the limitations for fence height and requirements. Privacy screens on the top of decks and balconies, as we all know, have frequently come for variances to fence height requirements.
We can design that wall in any which way zoning prefers. Could be a solid masonry if need be.
Committee members, any, yeah, please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a question. So the conversation is surrounding what the neighbors are going to view. We recognize that this is your property, you're allowed to build a two-story home. It's just a matter of what the setback is, just for clarification.
Correct.
There are going to be 5 trees removed, if I remember correctly, 3 that are...
Only 5. 3 of them are ash.
And are they directly at the side of
No.
the home?
No,
So-
all those trees on the northeast side are going to remain, every last one.
Okay, so basically, whatever screening is there currently will remain in terms of trees?
Exactly.
And those are evergreens?
Cedars.
Cedars?
There's some evergreens at the front, but the majority are cedars. Cedar trees, not the bush,
Okay,
full-blown trees.
so they would be shielding throughout the year because they remain green throughout the year?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question before us is whether we approve, I'm a feet and inches type of person, but roughly 10 feet versus 20 feet, just in rough terms. Was there a different way that you could position this so that that requirement could have been less?
Actually not. What we did do, though, is we moved it about 12 inches more to the south, away from the northerly fence line, and that enabled us to actually ensure that those cedar trees would not be harmed across the drip line.
Thank you.
Any other question by committee members to
No, I'm right.
any? Okay, so if no further business, looking to, sir, you want to add something new? Definitely new, not we talked before? Please, you're more than welcome to come forward.
It is new. Probably you already understand or heard this before, but it is new.
No problem. Please.
2 minutes ago, he said those cedar trees will remain, but they are not tall enough. You already seen this on my pictures. I took pictures from my breakfast, from my master bedroom and my main bedroom. They don't cover the second level. Those trees are not tall enough. Okay, but anyway, I heard quite a lot. And we also talked quite a lot about these bylaws. Bylaws require 7.5 meter setback. So I would say we should respect this bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? With any new information? Name and address, please.
My name is Yao Hui Wang from 71 Follow Field Road.
Can you please spell your name?
Yaohui, last name is Wang. I have a picture to show you. That's from my breakfast room. From the bench, and you see this tree is quite close to the fence.
Uh-huh.
And it's so pretty big. When they build the new house, it's only 3.3 meters away from the fence. So I'm wondering they're gonna cut this tree because you can see the size of it. So when it's gone, the view is gone, and we can only see the wall.
Okay, thank you for
Okay,
bringing
thank
your
you.
concerns. Okay. Anybody else? If no other business, looking forward to move. Mr. Crouch, you had put forward.
Well, as a heritage guy, I don't like change more than anybody else, but it's my view that this application is minor in nature and that I would approve the application subject to all staff conditions.
So a motion on to approve staff's recommendations by Mr. Crouch, seconded by, do we have seconder here? seconded by Ms. Stoffler. All in favor? This is approved and this is carried. Thank
One
you.
request, may I get the business card of the zoning manager so we can deal with the privacy issue on the
And
balcony?
to all, yeah, sure. And to all the neighbors, we do understand your concerns. You have 20 days to appeal to LPAT. You can, which is the local appeal tribunal. And I said in the beginning of the meeting, if you have any concerns, you can talk to Ms. Myers, Secretary Treasurer, regarding that LPAT form. You can submit that. That application is available online, I believe. If not, then you can contact City Clerk's office to have that application if anyone wishes to go further. Thank you.
Calling application A18081, 8256 Credit View Road, Brampton, Inc. Property is located at 8256 Credit View Road.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, city staff. Marathon this morning. My name is Mark Denardis, again from Gagnon Walker Domes Urban Planners. I represent the owner of the property located at 8256 Credit View Road. Registered owner is 8256 Credit View Road, Brampton, Inc. We filed a minor variance application in May. It was deferred at the May 29th hearing to today's hearing. The variance application is for a total of 6 variances. The property is irregular in shape. If you've visited the site, then you know that it's a challenging site. It definitely challenged my zoning skills, and I want to thank Ms. Corzola's zoning staff for their assistance. It was not an easy site to stick handle. But we have reviewed the staff recommendation report, and we find the conditions acceptable, and we find that the application satisfies the 4 tests. And the rendering, if you didn't see it as part of the submission, is what the custom home is supposed to look like. It is just a perspective, but you know, we're hoping that it'll be a great contribution to the community. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions?
How the heck did you get the conservation to agree to a cantilever?
Well,
I can't do that in Churchville.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to answer the question, really it's because the cantilevered is above the floodplain. The basement of the house, the footprint of the buildings actually doesn't encroach. And it's small cantilevered, 2 decks and a small portion of the ground floor living room. Engineering submission, I think, sold them, but it was not an easy test to satisfy.
I was amazed,
Yeah.
having lived in that floodplain for a long period of time.
Okay, so if there's anybody from, the committee members have any questions? Saying none further. Anybody from the audience wishes to speak on this applications? None. Staff, could you please bring your comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff is of the view that the application A18-081 is supportable and should be approved subject to the following 8 conditions. Condition number 1, that a custom home architectural control review application be approved prior to construction. Condition number 2, that a site value conservation permit be obtained prior to construction. Condition number 3, that an archaeological assessment for the property be approved and the adverse impacts to any significant archaeological resources found be mitigated to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Public Planning and Development Services Department and the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport prior to ground disturbance. no grading, filling, or any form of soil disturbances shall take place on the subject property prior to the acceptance of the approval of the archaeological assessment by the city and the MTCS, indicating that all archaeological resource concerns have met licensing and resource conservation requirements. Condition number 4, that a tree assessment report and preservation plan of all trees within the lot and within 5 meters of the property lines, if located outside of the lot, be approved to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering within 180 days of the Committee of Adjustment decision or an extended period at the discretion of the Commissioner of Public Works and Engineering. The tree assessment report and preservation plan shall be produced and signed by a certified arborist or landscape architect and shall identify each tree by species, size, etc., and the health condition. Condition number 5, that a grading plan prepared by a professional engineer or an Ontario land surveyor be approved to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Public Works. Condition number 6. The condition number 5 continues to the satisfaction of the Commissioner of Public Works and the Engineering Department as part of a custom home grading and drainage plan application prior to construction. Condition number 6, that the garage shall not be used for the storage of oversized vehicles. Condition number 7, that the extent of variances 1 to 3, 5 and 6 be limited to that shown on the sketch attached to the public notice. And condition number 8, that failure to comply with and maintain the conditions of the committee shall render the approval nullified. Thank you.
Thank you. Any question? Are you?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think I'd just like to add to Nasir's comments that the conditions that we actually have a lot of those items underway with them being reviewed by city staff. So we're getting clearances almost every other day. So we're in the process of satisfying them.
Okay, so you're in full agreement with all these conditions?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Committee members?
Motion to approve with conditions.
Motion to approve by Mr. Crouch with conditions, obviously. Seconded by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? This is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Can I move now to go into closed session after a brief adjournment?
Yes, so the committee will now meet in, sorry, Ms. Myers, there's no other applications, right? Okay, so the committee will now meet in closed session for a matter under section 239, 3.1 for the Municipal Act 2001 and for the purpose of educating and training the members in regard to the authority, role, format, and powers of Committee of Adjustment. Anybody here from public, if you can please leave this room. Anybody from public?
I'm going to request a 10 or 15-minute adjournment.
Sorry, 1 second. We need a motion. Okay, and I need a motion for this. Can I have a mover?
To move into closed session for the purposes of training.
By Mr. Crouch, seconded by Mr. Nurse. All in favor? Yes, so we are going in closed session, but there will be a recess for 5 minutes when we should. 12:30, we'll come back.